Chapter 235. This guy, Zhou Donghuang, who had just put away the core medicine, heard the voice coming from outside and could not help but shake his head. He was indeed a spoiled brat. He actually found this kind of thing fun. However, he was happy to have someone help him get rid of the counterfeits, and he did not need to do it himself. After asking Lu Lang about the items that the people of the Summer Valley had recently placed on the bounty list, Zhou Donghuang asked him to prepare some cheap materials. Zhou Donghuang, are you sure that the items that the people of the Summer Valley have placed on the bounty list can be forged with these cheap materials? After helping Zhou Donghuang gather the cheap materials and handing them to him, Lu Lang's eyes widened in disbelief. However, when he saw with his own eyes that Zhou Donghuang had turned waste into treasure and refined a pile of cheap materials into the items that the people of the Summer Valley had placed on the bounty list, he could not help but be dumbfounded. My God! Lu Lang looked at the items in front of him for a while and realized that he could not tell that they were counterfeits at all. Without destroying them, it was impossible to tell that they were counterfeits. And the person who sold these items, even if they were real, would not allow anyone to destroy them. This was the same logic as the 9 counterfeits that Zhou Donghuang had sold a month ago. Now I'm looking forward to the expressions of those elders of the Summer Valley when they discover that they are counterfeits after buying these items. Lu Lang, who was eager to see the world in chaos, followed Zhou Donghuang's instructions and selected the most expensive items on the bounty list that could be forged. These were all items that the elders of the Summer Valley had placed bounties on. The cheapest item had a bounty of 300 high-quality spirit stones. The most expensive item had a bounty of 1,000 high-quality spirit stones. The items that the elders of the Summer Valley had placed bounties on were so expensive that when the elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect saw the bounties on them, they would leave the sect and put in a lot of effort to find these items. Normally, in less than half a month, the people of the sect would be able to find the items that they were looking for. However, this time, Lu Lang was destined to beat them to it. More accurately, it was the people that Lu Lang had found who beat them to it. Zhou Donghuang, if I find people to help, I will not take a cut myself. The people that I find, I will give them 10% of their hard work. How about that? Lu Lang asked Zhou Donghuang. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Do as you see fit. For the next period of time, I will continue to train in seclusion. Before I come out of seclusion, don't disturb me. Now that the elixir that could help him break through to the Dharma stage was ready, he wanted to try out his idea and see if he could directly enter the Dharma stage. Seeing Zhou Donghuang return to his room after giving him the items, Lu Lang could not help but pout. What a training maniac! As soon as he finished speaking, he looked at the few items in his hand, and a bright smile bloomed on his face. These will be fun to play with. I'm really curious to see the expressions on the faces of the Summer Valley elders when they realized that these things were fake. 3 days later. Summer Valley. Valley Head, you have to intervene in this matter. This time, the losses of the Summer Valley have already exceeded 2,000 high-grade spirit stones. A few elders of the Summer Valley arrived at Lian Kuan's residence. One of the elders was furious. That Autumn Valley disciple is too much. Hearing the words of the Summer Valley elder, Lian Kuan's expression did not change, but he could not help but feel disdain in his heart. It was clearly you old fellows who were blind enough to buy fake goods and lost your own spirit stones, and now you say that it was the Summer Valley's loss. Usually, when we were producing elixirs for the Summer Valley disciples, we would ask them to take out some spirit stones to contribute to the Summer Valley. Which one of them was not stingy and crying about being poor? Of course, Lian Kuan could only think about these words in his heart. He could not say them out loud. Valley Head, you really have to intervene in this matter. If this continues, the people of the Summer Valley will definitely be in a state of panic. Another elder of the Summer Valley said. Valley Head, even if you do not look for the sect leader, you should look for the Autumn Valley Head. With the Autumn Valley Head's words, I believe that Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang will restrain himself." Another elder of the Summer Valley said. "Elders, are you sure that the fake goods that you bought were made by Zhou Donghuang?" Lian Kun asked. Without waiting for them to speak, Lian Kun continued, "As far as I know, that Zhou Donghuang, ever since he returned to the Autumn Valley a month ago, no one has seen him leave the Autumn Valley. Perhaps the fake goods that you bought had nothing to do with him?" Lian Kun asked. "Valley head, although the person who sold me the fake goods was an elder of the outer sect, and he was unwilling to reveal the source of the fake goods, is there a need to ask? It was definitely made by that Autumn Valley disciple." "That's right, Valley head. Besides him, who else would have the ability to do so? Before he entered the Lightning Sword sect, we had never seen fake goods run rampant. Ever since he came, fake goods have become rampant, and they are targeting the Summer Valley. Valley head, make a trip to the Autumn Valley and speak to the Autumn Valley head. As long as the Autumn Valley head says the word, Zhou Donghuang will definitely not dare to act recklessly." A few elders of the Summer Valley bowed to Lian Kun and pleaded in unison. "Valley head, please help us and the Summer Valley." Seeing this, Lian Kun could not help but frown. He did not like the feeling of being forced to do something beyond his abilities. However, since the elders of the Summer Valley had already gone to this extent, if he continued to reject them, he would inevitably lose their trust. "I will make a trip to the Autumn Valley in the next 2 days." After receiving Lian Kun's reply, the elders of the Summer Valley left in satisfaction. After the few of them left, Lian Kun's face turned completely gloomy and extremely ugly. Not long after, news of the elders of the Summer Valley buying fake goods, and more than 2,000 high-quality spirit stones in total, once again caused an uproar in the Lightning Sword sect. "That Autumn Valley disciple is so daring? I thought he had become smarter. I did not expect that in just a short month, he would cause such a huge ruckus again. This time, the Summer Valley's losses are even more ridiculous than the last time. He is digging a hole for the Summer Valley." Now, even some of the elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect who did not know Zhou Donghuang before now learned of his existence from their fellow disciples. Of course, their knowledge of Zhou Donghuang, apart from his identity as a disciple of the Autumn Valley, was limited to the fact that he could easily fool even primordial soul adepts. "Senior brother Lian, this matter is getting out of hand. If we had known, we would not have sold fake 9-ringed bamboo to the Zhuang of the Autumn Valley." Pan Yilan smiled bitterly as he spoke in Lian Kan's residence in the Summer Valley. He had never imagined that, just because he and Lian Kan had been on a whim, so many people of the Summer Valley had been harmed by fake goods. In this period of time, he could see that some of the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who had been deceived now looked at him differently. In the past, they had ignored him, but now, they looked at him with hatred. He was sure, if not for the rules of the Lightning Sword sect, which forbade members of the same sect from harming each other for no reason, the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley might have already made a move on him. After all, in the eyes of the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley, it was Pan Yilan who had indirectly caused them to buy fake goods and lose a large number of spirit stones. Since it has already been done, there is no room for regret. Lian Kan said calmly, "My master has already gone to the Autumn Valley to look for the Autumn Valley head. He went there to discuss this matter. From today onwards, this matter has come to an end." However, in the instant home, Lian Kan's lips curled into a cold smile, and his eyes shone with a murderous intent. "That Zhou Donghuang actually dared to ask me to kneel and kowtow in front of him and apologize. This enmity has been formed. As long as I find an opportunity, he will definitely die. The matter of the fake goods has come to an end, but the show between me and him has only just begun. As long as he is in the Lightning Sword sect, I will suppress him." As he spoke, the cold smile on Lian Kan's face deepened. At this time, Pan Yilan also took the opportunity to flatter Lian Kan, "That Zhou Donghuang, he has offended you, senior brother Lian. Sooner or later, he will be in deep trouble. There is still time. Take your time to play with him. Lian Kun smiled mockingly. At the same time, the Summer Valley head, Lian Kun, was sitting opposite He Jin in the courtyard of the Autumn Valley head's residence. Senior brother Lian Kun, you must have something to ask of me, right? He Jin asked with a smile. Junior brother He, I have indeed come to find you. Lian Kun nodded. I did not intend to come, but the elders of the Summer Valley came to ask for my permission. I had no choice but to come. Oh? What is it that's so serious? He Jin's face was full of surprise. Junior brother He, your Autumn Valley has a new disciple who has been in the sect for almost 2 months. Zhou Donghuang, you should know of him, right? He has not yet reached the Dharma stage, but he has entered the Autumn Valley. He needs your permission personally. Lian Kun asked. Zhou Donghuang? Of course I know of him. He Jin nodded. Speaking of which, he is the new disciple that my girl brought into the Autumn Valley. At first, I only thought that his martial arts talent was passable, but after listening to Han Ku, I found out that he is also good at creating fake goods. He can even fool primordial soul adepts. Senior brother Lian Kun, you did not come to find me because of what he did to the Summer Valley a month ago, did you? He Jin asked. If it was only about what happened a month ago, it would not be a big deal. Lian Kun shook his head. Yesterday, a few elders of the Summer Valley bought another batch of fake goods. In total, they lost more than 2,000 superior-level spirit stones. They suspect that the fake goods came from your Autumn Valley disciple, Zhou Donghuang. This is different from a month ago, when the person who sold the fake goods to the people of the Summer Valley personally confessed to Zhou Donghuang. This time, the person who sold the fake goods to the elders of the Summer Valley is not willing to reveal the source of the fake goods. I came to find you, junior brother He, mainly because I want you to help me ask Zhou Donghuang. If he did not do it, then so be it. If he was the one who did it, it was enough. After all, indulging in unorthodox ways will affect his practice, and he may even be unable to continue staying in the Autumn Valley when he is 30. Lian Kun's words sounded more like he was thinking of Zhou Donghuang. End of this chapter. Chapter 236. Senior brother Lian Kun has put in a lot of effort. Although He Jin felt that Lian Kun was shameless, he still put on a good front. I will have a good chat with him about this. However, whether he listens or not is not something I can control. After all, what he has done is not against the rules of the sect, He Jin said. Lian Kun shook his head and laughed. Junior brother He, you must be joking. You are the Autumn Valley head, and since you have spoken, as an Autumn Valley disciple, how could Zhou Donghuang not listen to you? Senior brother Lian Kun, young people nowadays are not like us. They all have their own ideas. In the past, if we had his ability, would we have dared to do this? He Jin countered. Lian Kun was speechless. If he had been younger and had Zhou Donghuang's forgery skills, he would not have done what Zhou Donghuang had done, even if he knew that forgery could make him rich. Although it was not against the rules of the sect, it would offend many people. When he was young, he had aspired to the position of Summer Valley head. If he offended too many people and caused trouble for him in the future, he might not even be able to live to this day, let alone the position of Summer Valley head. Within the sect, no one dared to do anything rash. But what about outside the sect? Could he not leave the sect for the rest of his life? Lian Kun had just left when a travel-worn figure landed in He Jin's courtyard. It was He Mengxi, Zhou Donghuang's third senior sister, who had just returned. Silly girl, you've been gone for so long this time. Where did you go? He Jin asked with a smile, his eyes full of affection. I just went for a walk, He Mengxi replied casually. Of course, she could not possibly tell her father that she had gone to investigate Zhou Donghuang's background. After all, the dream that he had mentioned was too far-fetched. Father, why is Uncle Lian Kun here? I don't remember him coming to the Autumn Valley to look for you. He Mengshi asked curiously. He's here for your little junior brother. As the Autumn Valley head, He Jin knew that He Mengshi had addressed Zhou Donghuang as little junior brother. He's here for little junior brother? He Mengshi was stunned and asked, could it be that he's here to poach us? You want to poach junior brother to the Summer Valley? On this trip to the Ziyun planet of the Kaiyuan galaxy, she could be said to have seriously investigated Zhou Donghuang's background. After this investigation, she was shocked. On a planet that lacked cultivation resources, her junior brother had actually achieved his current level of cultivation in such a short period of time? Furthermore, her junior brother had once killed a Dharma adept who had just entered the Dharma stage despite being a Golden Essence adept. As a Dharma adept, she knew the difference between a Dharma adept and a Golden Essence adept who was the closest to becoming a Dharma adept. It was an insurmountable gap. Even the weakest Dharma adept could not be killed by a Golden Essence adept. At least, in the history of the Lightning Sword sect, the Tai Lao planet, and the Hengliu galaxy, she had never heard of a Golden Essence adept being able to kill a Dharma adept. This had already subverted everything she knew. Because of this, she felt that her junior brother couldn't be treated as an ordinary Golden Core cultivator, and she even subconsciously felt that he was extremely outstanding. Therefore, at this time, she subconsciously asked her father if the Summer Valley head was here to poach him. Poach him? He Jin was stunned for a moment, then immediately shook his head and said, no. He's here because he wants me to speak to your junior brother and ask him not to forge the items that the people of the Summer Valley have placed a bounty on in the future and let people sell fake goods to the people of the Summer Valley. Fake goods? He Mengshi was stunned. After all, she had just returned, and after all, she did not know about the incident that had caused an uproar in half of the Lightning Sword sect a month ago. However, as He Jin explained, she very quickly understood the ins and outs of the matter. At the same time, she also knew the reason why the Summer Valley head, Lian Kun, had come this time. He has this kind of ability. He Mengshi did not know whether to laugh or cry, but at the same time, a cold light flashed in her eyes. However, that Summer Valley disciple, Pan Yilan, actually dared to sell fake goods to De Zhuang and bully him? He must have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. Knowing that De Zhuang had been cheated, He Mengshi was obviously very angry. My good daughter, your junior brother has already avenged De Zhuang, so this matter has come to an end, let's just end it here. He Jin felt a headache coming on. He naturally understood his own daughter very well, and with her temper, she would definitely help De Zhuang get back at him. Some things, you still have to do it yourself to vent your anger. He Mengshi said. As for what junior brother has done this time, I feel that it has helped to vent my anger. Father, you're not really going to look for junior brother and ask him to stop forging fake goods to sell to the people of the Summer Valley, are you? You can't do this. If you go look for him, I'll fall out with you. He Mengshi said to He Jin with a serious face, and the latter agreed immediately. He could only silently apologize to the Summer Valley head, Lian Kun, in his heart. I'm going to look for junior brother and De Zhuang. After saying goodbye to He Jin, He Mengshi left in a hurry. However, she only found De Zhuang. Zhou Donghuang was practicing in his own room. He Mengshi did not disturb his practice and immediately called out to De Zhuang, let's go. Follow me to the Summer Valley to find Pan Yilan. He even dared to touch my people, he must have eaten the heart of a bear and the guts of a leopard. He Mengshi's eyes flashed coldly as she looked in the direction of the Summer Valley. Although within the Lightning Sword sect, disciples of the same sect were not allowed to fight without reason, not to mention the fact that there was no evidence to prove that Pan Yilan had sold fake goods to De Zhuang, even if he had really done so, it was within the rules of the sect, and they could not use this reason to cause trouble for Pan Yilan. But who was He Mengshi? She was the daughter of the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, and she was the only daughter at that. With such a status, even if she really hurt someone, as long as the matter was not serious enough, even if the law enforcement hall arrested her, they could not really do anything to her. In fact, the most troublesome people for the law enforcement hall were He Mengxi and Lu Lang, who were the only daughters and sons of the valley heads. Even if He Mengxi and Lu Lang went to the law enforcement hall, the people of the law enforcement hall still treated them like their ancestors. He. Senior sister, there's no need. De Zhuang shook his head and smiled. Junior brother has already helped me take revenge. I am not unhappy anymore, and I am not angry anymore. You big fool. He Mengxi shook her head. Since you are not going, then I will go alone. As soon as she finished speaking, she did not wait for De Zhuang to speak and quickly flew away. She left the autumn valley and headed for the summer valley. He Mengxi was a very protective person. A large part of the reason why Zhou Donghuang had respected her in his previous life was because He Mengxi's protective attitude gave him a sense of home. During that period of time, he felt very secure. It was as if even if the sky collapsed, third senior sister would hold it up for him. Pan Yilin, get out here. After He Mengxi went to the summer valley and asked for Pan Yilin's address, she went straight there and shouted. Her voice was so loud that it spread across a large area. It's He Mengxi. That Pan Yilin fellow, did he offend He Mengxi? Many people of the summer valley came out to take a look and recognized He Mengxi. However, even some of the elders of the summer valley, although they saw that He Mengxi had come aggressively, had no intention of interfering. They all pretended not to see anything. Senior sister He. Pan Yilin, who was practicing in his room, was startled awake by He Mengxi. His face was pale. He had not intended to go out, but when he thought that He Mengxi might just tear down his residence if he did not go out, he could only muster his courage and go out. I hope senior brother Lien can step out in time, otherwise, I will definitely not be able to escape a beating from this senior sister He. Pan Yilin walked out of the room helplessly and rose into the air. He looked at He Mengxi, who was standing in the air far away, and braced himself to greet her. Senior sister He. Pan Yilin, you are really amazing. You even dared to lie to De Zhuang. He Mengxi looked at Pan Yilin deeply and said, it seems like you do not respect me at all. Senior sister He, you have misunderstood. Pan Yilin smiled bitterly and said, that matter was a misunderstanding. The 9-ringed bamboo that I sold to De Zhuang was real, not fake. He Mengxi interrupted Pan Yilin and asked calmly, you mean? De Zhuang is slandering you? Seeing that He Mengxi's gaze had turned cold, Pan Yilin felt his scalp go numb. At the same time, he felt that he would not be able to escape this beating. He could only hope that this senior sister He would show mercy and not be too heavy-handed. Of course, he would definitely not die or be crippled. On this point, he still believed that He Mengxi had a sense of propriety. And just as He Mengxi's vital energy swept out and condensed into the Dharma power of a giant tiger that was 10 feet tall, preparing to attack Pan Yilin. A figure floated out and blocked in front of Pan Yilin. Junior sister Mengxi. The person who had appeared was the personal disciple of the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun. Lien Kun was not only Lien Kun's personal disciple, but he was also Lien Kun's adopted son. He was an orphan that Lien Kun had picked up and brought back to be adopted. Lien Kun was actually younger than He Mengxi by 3 years, but his martial arts talent was slightly higher than He Mengxi's. Although he was younger than He Mengxi, his level of cultivation was not lower than He Mengxi's. Lien Kun, this matter has nothing to do with you. He Mengxi frowned and said in a low voice, get lost. Zhou Donghuang did not know that his third senior sister, He Mengxi, had already returned. Now, he was completely immersed in his practice. The core drug that he had produced was called the developing essence, and was a type of ancient core drug. In his previous life, after he had attained the heavenly stage, he had accidentally obtained the formula in an ancient relic. It was the fruit of the blood and sweat of the ancient people, and it had long been lost in the boundless universe at that time. The developing essence could allow golden essence adepts to forcefully condense their Dharma power in a short period of time. Of course, during this process, a spirit-gathering spell was needed to absorb the spirit energy from heaven and earth. Coupled with the medicinal power of the developing essence, the golden essence would manifest its Dharma power. For developing essence, each with medicinal power entering a golden essence. I wonder if I can directly manifest the Dharma power of the 4 mythical beasts. Zhou Donghuang was somewhat expectant. End of this chapter. Chapter 237. The developing elixir was an ancient elixir, and when Zhou Donghuang obtained its formula, he was already a mighty adept at the heavenly man stage. Naturally, he had no use for this elixir that was meant for golden essence adepts. Furthermore, in his previous life, he had taken in a few disciples in the universe. At that time, even the weakest of them was already a divine transformation adept, so they naturally had no use for the developing elixir. In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang felt that it would be difficult for him to use the formula of the developing elixir, unless he suddenly decided to take in another disciple. However, he did not expect that before he could take in another disciple, he would be reborn 1,000 years ago due to an accident and have to start all over again. Under such circumstances, the developing elixir came in handy. Next, I'll first set up the energy-gathering formation, then take the developing elixir. Zhou Donghuang did not lack spirit stones now. Before leaving the Ziyun planet and coming to the Tailao planet, he had traveled to a few planets in a few galaxies. Based on the memories of his previous life, he managed to obtain the relics left behind by a few Dharma adepts who had died of old age. Among them, there were many spirit stones. Of course, most of them were mid-quality spirit stones, with only a few high-quality spirit stones. This was also because the planets that the Dharma adepts were on could not compare to the Tailao planet that the Lightning Sword sect was on, be it in terms of the training environment or the training resources it contained. The Tailao planet had high-quality spirit stone veins, but those few planets did not. Those few planets had all been visited by Zhou Donghuang before he had reached the Dharma stage in his previous life. It was also at that time that he began to pay attention to the relics left behind by the Dharma adepts. However, every time, he could only sigh helplessly, because someone had already taken away the relics of the Dharma adepts before him. After that, Zhou Donghuang naturally heard about the relics left behind by many Dharma adepts. However, at that time, his level of training was already quite high, and he only left the relics of the Dharma adepts to fate and did not purposely pursue them. Therefore, although he knew when the relics of the Dharma adepts had appeared on each planet, he did not pay attention to the specific location. At that time, what he paid attention to was where the primordial soul adepts and above died of old age. However, with his current ability, he still did not have the ability to collect the various relics left behind by the primordial soul adepts and above. There are also some rare spirit fruits appearing. In addition, in Zhou Donghuang's memory, there were many specific times and specific circumstances of the birth of the spirit fruits. These spirit fruits were also things that he would collect in the future. In his previous life, out of all the rare spirit fruits that he knew of, it was rare for even one to be his. But in this life, with the memories from his previous life, he was completely able to act before the various forces and experts could act and collect those spirit fruits. To Zhou Donghuang in this life, the memories of his past life were no different from a cheating device. More than 300,000 mid-tier spirit stones are equivalent to more than 30,000 high-tier spirit stones. It's enough for me to use for a while. 30,000 high-quality spirit stones. Even in the Lightning Sword sect, there were not many people who could afford such a sum. Zhou Donghuang had obtained the spirit stones from the graves of a few Dharma adepts who had reached the end of their lives. Unlike those who came from sects, these adepts did not have many ready-made resources. Instead, they focused on searching for and earning spirit stones. Only with spirit stones could they purchase the various resources they needed. He did not seem like someone who came from a sect. In the Lightning Sword sect, as long as one completed the various tasks given out by the sect, they would be able to earn a certain amount of contribution points. The accumulated contribution points could be used to exchange for core drugs, spirit weapons, and even some rare materials. In the Lightning Sword sect, there were some things that could not be bought with spirit stones. One had to use contribution points. Of course, after using contribution points to exchange for items, one could then exchange them for spirit stones at the trade center. This was also possible. In the entire boundless universe, as long as the other sects were presentable, they were basically all similar to the Lightning Sword sect. Under such circumstances, those who came from sects, with the exception of the few people at the top of a sect, generally did not have as much spiritual stones as those rogue cultivators who dared to fight outside, unless they had a fortuitous encounter and made a fortune outside. Because of this, the amount of spirit stones that Zhou Donghuang could use now, not to mention the outer sect elders of the Lightning Sword sect, even among the inner sect elders, there were not many who could match up to him. Of course, those who stood at the top of the Lightning Sword sect, like the 4 valley heads of the inner sect, the 5 hall heads of the outer sect, and the elders of the Lightning Peak, their spirit stone wealth was definitely astonishing. This was because many of the things that could be exchanged for with contribution points in the sect were contributed by them. Correspondingly, the sect would give them a certain amount of spirit stones as compensation. 10,000 mid-quality spirit stones should be enough to set up a chi gathering spell, right? Under normal circumstances, Zhou Donghuang would not need to use 10,000 mid-quality spirit stones to set up a chi gathering spell. This was because his current level of practice was too low, and absorbing too much spirit energy from the heavens and earth would cause a backlash. But now, Zhou Donghuang was not doing this purely for practice. He intended to use the power of the 4 ancient core drugs, the developing essence, to condense his Dharma power in one go. He had a very crazy ambition. He wanted to make all 4 golden essences manifest their Dharma power in one go. And this was also the confidence that the ancient core drug, the developing essence, had given him. However, although he was ambitious and had a certain level of confidence, Zhou Donghuang was not completely confident. This was because he had never seen anyone consume the developing essence before. In fact, this was his first time producing a core drug like the developing essence, which was recorded in an ancient formula. Now, consume 4 developing essence. The success rate of producing the developing essence was not high. Even with Zhou Donghuang's alchemy skills, if he gave it his all, he could only produce 2 elixirs in one cauldron, and this was already Zhou Donghuang's limit of producing the developing essence with his samadhi fire. Unless he used a higher level of fire, it would be difficult to exceed this number of elixirs. As expected of an ancient core drug, for a typical alchemist, if his alchemy skills are not up to par, no matter how strong his fire is, it will be difficult to produce the developing essence. This was also something that Zhou Donghuang had discovered in the process of producing the elixirs. Gulp, Zhou Donghuang opened his mouth and swallowed the 4 developing essence at the same time. Soon after, he could clearly see that the moment the 4 developing pills entered his throat, they turned into 4 waves of medicinal power and fused together. In the end, under his intervention, they were divided into 4 waves and flowed into the 4 golden elixirs in his dantian. In the next moment, he began to activate the 4 golden essences in his elixir field, absorbing spirit energy in the energy-gathering formation to train. The 4 golden essences were activated at the same time, and the speed at which they absorbed spirit energy was already very fast. Now that the 4 golden essences had the medicinal power of the developing essence, the speed was even faster. Compared to normal times, it was hundreds or even thousands of times faster. So fast? After a moment of shock, Zhou Donghuang continued to focus on activating the 4 golden essences, following the path of the Lord of the 4 Supremes to train, one big cycle after another. At this time, Zhou Donghuang, who had his eyes tightly shut, did not notice that the 10,000 mid-level spirit stones placed on the bed around him were gradually losing their luster at a speed visible to the naked eye. Based on this speed, it would not be long before these spirit stones were completely used up. And above Zhou Donghuang's head, the spirit energy that had gathered from all directions had even condensed into liquid form and was rushing towards Zhou Donghuang's head. It was like a small stream flowing. It must be known that under normal circumstances, even if a primordial soul adept used the energy-gathering formation to train, it was already considered very exaggerated for them to be able to see spirit energy in the form of mist. But now, with the medicinal power of the developing essence, the spirit energy that Zhou Donghuang had absorbed through the energy-gathering formation had condensed into liquid form. The spirit energy that filled heaven and earth was usually very difficult to see, and it was already very difficult to condense it into a mist form, much less a liquid form that was even more exaggerated. However, the reason why the spirit energy was now in a liquid form was completely because of the medicinal power of the developing essence. Under normal circumstances, even if Zhou Donghuang activated the 4 golden essences and used the energy-gathering formation to train, it would be difficult for the spirit energy to condense into a mist form, much less a liquid form. Zhou Donghuang was like a whale swallowing seawater as he absorbed the liquid spirit energy of heaven and earth. At the same time, there was a slight disturbance in the spirit energy of heaven and earth outside his residence. At least, De Zhuang, who was training, felt it. What's going on? However, although he felt the disturbance, De Zhuang did not know what had happened. In fact, after he stopped training, he no longer felt the disturbance. Under the Lightning Sword sect's territory, there was not only one high-quality spirit stone lode, but there were also many mid-quality spirit stone lodes. A place that could condense so many spirit stone lodes was definitely a place with an abundance of spirit energy. Coupled with the spirit energy emitted by the spirit stone lodes, under this virtuous cycle, the entire Lightning Sword sect's territory had become a sacred place for training. Most non-affiliated practitioners who trained outside and spent a certain amount of spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation might not be as effective as if they had not set up an energy-gathering formation in the Lightning Sword sect. It was precisely because the Lightning Sword sect's territory was filled with an extremely dense spirit energy that even though Zhou Donghuang was absorbing spirit energy wantonly in a corner of the Autumn Valley and condensing it into a liquid form, it did not alarm anyone. De Zhuang could feel it when he was training because he was close to it. The other people of the Autumn Valley, including the Summer Valley elders who were at the mid-primordial soul stage, did not notice anything strange about Zhou Donghuang's residence. Now, within the Autumn Valley, the only person who had noticed anything strange about Zhou Donghuang's residence was the Autumn Valley head, He Jin. And this was also because Zhou Donghuang's residence and He Jin's residence were in the same direction of the Autumn Valley, and they were not far apart. Otherwise, even He Jin would not have been able to detect the abnormality in the spirit energy around Zhou Donghuang's residence. Spirit energy is all gathering towards him. This speed of gathering is not as exaggerated as when the sect leader was training, much less when I was training. He Jin stood in the air and looked at the courtyard where Zhou Donghuang was staying in. His face was full of shock. Is he training? Is he really just a primal core adept? End of this chapter. Chapter 238. The practice of a primal core adept was even more impressive than that of a divine transformation adept. Although He Jin was the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect and one of the 4 chief elders of the Lightning Peak, he could not help but be stunned. He had no idea what was going on. He had never encountered such a situation before. However, he also knew how difficult it was to gather spirit energy at such a speed. At least, even the Divine Transformation Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect could not do it. This Zhou Donghuang is not simple, he either has a treasure or some special method to absorb spirit energy so quickly. He Jin thought to himself. Where did he come from? Looks like I'll have to ask Mengshi when I get back. He Jin's expression turned solemn as he thought of this. To absorb spirit energy at such a frightening speed, even if only half of the spirit energy was converted into inner yuan, the speed of practice was still terrifying. Now, Zhou Donghuang did not know that while he was practicing, the movement of spirit energy had attracted the attention of the Autumn Valley head, He Jin. He was fully immersed in the practice of the Lord of the Four Supremes. He had no idea how much time had passed. It felt like a century, but at the same time, it felt like only an instant. During this process, he glanced at his dantian and discovered that the embryonic form of a Dharma power had begun to appear on all four of his golden cores. He had experienced this scene in his previous life, so he was very familiar with the scene in front of him. Time continued to pass. At this time, Zhou Donghuang could vaguely see that the outline of the Dharma power on the four golden essences in his body had already formed a clear outline. Is that the green dragon Dharma power? The outline of the Dharma power on one of the golden essences looked a little like a snake, but its body was huge, and it had the outline of 5 claws on its abdomen. 5-clawed green dragon? What's going on? Shouldn't it be a 4-clawed green dragon? In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang had met Dharma adepts who had formed the divine dragon Dharma power. He knew that the divine dragon Dharma power was a 4-clawed divine dragon. But now, the embryonic form of the Dharma power on one of his golden cores had the outline of a 5-clawed divine dragon. Even for the dragon race, one of the 10,000 races in the universe, the divine dragon Dharma power that they condense when they reach the Dharma stage is only a 4-clawed divine dragon. Only when they step into the primordial soul realm can they condense the primordial soul of a 5-clawed divine dragon. In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang had interacted with the dragon clan, so he knew about this in detail. The 5-clawed divine dragon was one level higher than the 4-clawed divine dragon. Is it because of the Lord of the Four Supremes? Zhou Donghuang's heart thumped. The more he thought about it, the more it made sense. Apart from this, he couldn't think of any other possibilities. However, this is also a good thing. In the Dharma stage, the 5-clawed divine dragon Dharma power will not only be invincible against Dharma adepts of the same level, but even against Dharma adepts of a higher level. As long as their Dharma power is not particularly strong, it will most likely be able to defeat them. The 4-clawed divine dragon Dharma power was enough to defeat 99% of Dharma adepts of the same level. What more the even stronger 5-clawed divine dragon Dharma power? The green dragon Dharma power already has the shape of a 5-clawed divine dragon, the other 3 Dharma powers will not be simple either. As he thought of this, Zhou Donghuang became unusually excited. His attention shifted to another golden essence. The shape of the Dharma power that appeared was that of a bird. This should be the vermilion bird Dharma power. This is the white tiger Dharma power. The shape of the Dharma power that appeared on the third golden essence was that of a walking beast. Upon closer inspection, there were many traces of the king of beasts, a tiger. The black tortoise Dharma power. The shape of the Dharma power that appeared on the fourth golden essence was that of a tortoise, a large one at that. Just as Zhou Donghuang's attention was drawn to the shape of the Dharma power that appeared on the 4 golden essences in his dantian, He Mengshi rushed back to the Autumn Valley angrily. When I reach the mid-Dharma stage, I will definitely teach that Lian Can a good lesson. How dare he protect Pan Yilan? He is obviously going against me. This time, He Mengshi had gone to the Summer Valley to find Pan Yilan, but before she could do anything, Lian Can had interfered and threatened to protect Pan Yilan. In a fit of anger, she had fought Lian Can. They were evenly matched, and neither of them could do anything to the other. In such a situation, she could only return in low spirits. Although she was the daughter of the Autumn Valley head, Lian Can's background was not bad either. He was the adopted son and disciple of the Summer Valley head, so he was not afraid of her. However, when He Mengshi returned angrily, her face was full of worry. That Lian Can is about to reach the mid-Dharma stage. Furthermore, his martial arts talent is higher than mine. When she reached the mid-Dharma stage, Lian Can would most likely also break through. When that time came, she would not be able to do anything to him. Because of this, she was very dissatisfied. What? Did you not help Dezhuang? He Jin noticed He Mengshi as soon as she returned and immediately went to greet her. When he saw the dissatisfaction on her face, it was not difficult to guess that she had not been able to get what she wanted. It seemed that someone had interfered to protect the Summer Valley disciple who had sold the fake goods to Dezhuang. That Lian can interfered. He Mengshi said in a low voice. Lian can? He Jin was stunned, and his gaze became a little strange. From what I know, that Lian Can fellow seems to be interested in you. He actually stopped you? Interested in me? He Mengshi was stunned at first, but she quickly regained her composure. With a look of disgust, she said, even if all the men in the world died and he was the only one left, I would not choose him. Did he really think that I did not know that he was toying with the female outer sect disciples and then abandoning them? As she said this, there was only disgust left in her eyes. Alright, let's not talk about this for now. He Jin shook his head and changed the topic. That Zhou Donghuang, where did you find him? What's wrong? He Mengshi was confused. She did not know why her father would suddenly ask this. He Jin told her what he had discovered an hour ago, and for a moment, He Mengshi was stunned. When he was practicing, the spirit energy gathered at a crazy rate? Furthermore, the speed and intensity of the spirit energy gathering was even greater than when the sect leader was practicing in seclusion. He Mengshi was also shocked. He is not simple. I suspect that either his background is not simple, or he had an extraordinary encounter. He Jin said with a serious expression. He does not have any background. Thinking of the planet called Ziyun that she had been to not long ago, He Mengshi shook her head. He must have had an extraordinary encounter. Does not have any background? He Jin looked at He Mengshi. Where is he from? Ziyun, He Mengshi said. He Mengshi said, that planet only has a few small spirit stone veins. Moreover, there isn't even an interstellar transportation array in the star domain where that planet is located. I left not long ago to go to the planet of Ziyun to help him bring some things to his family. He Mengshi did not intend to tell her father that Zhou Donghuang had come looking for her. She only said that Zhou Donghuang had wandered to the Hengliu galaxy and ended up on Ziyun. She had found him and brought him back to the Lightning Sword sect and the Autumn Valley. In the Autumn Valley, only Huang Long knew that when Zhou Donghuang had first arrived, she did not know him. Therefore, she had specially gone to Huang Long to inform him. Someone who came from a galaxy that does not even have a galaxy teleporter? He Jin's eyes narrowed slightly, and he said with a serious expression, it seems that he has indeed had an extraordinary encounter. Otherwise, with his background, he would not have been able to get to where he is today. 23 years old, reaching the golden essence stage. Even in some of the galaxies with galaxy teleporters, it is rare for someone like that to appear. He Jin voiced out his own guess. He Mengshi did not reply. She thought of what she had learned after going to Ziyun and felt that Zhou Donghuang must have had an extraordinary encounter. She even had a vague guess. Zhou Donghuang's extraordinary encounter could have been his dream. A dream that allowed him to see the future and allow him to have the upper hand at any time. This, in itself, was an extraordinary encounter. Father, if little brother has an extraordinary encounter, then so be it. You won't have any designs on him, will you? He Mengshi looked at He Jin cautiously. What kind of person do you think your father is? He Jin glared at He Mengshi. Am I that kind of person in your eyes? He. Father, if he is just an outsider, not a disciple of the Autumn Valley or the Lightning Sword sect, and not someone I brought back, are you sure you won't have any designs on him? Are you sure you won't have designs on him? He Mengshi asked with a chuckle. Alright, hurry up and go back to training. If you don't work hard, that Summer Valley's Lian Can might even reach the mid-Dharma stage before you. He Jin glared at He Mengshi again. Also, when your little brother comes out of seclusion, remember to remind him that a man's heart is full of evil. It's better to keep a low profile if possible. By the time He Mengshi relayed He Jin's message to Zhou Donghuang, it was already half a month later. Third senior sister, that was not an extraordinary encounter. It was because of a type of core drug. Zhou Donghuang looked at He Mengxi and smiled. I intend to give one of those core drugs to De Zhuang as well. After De Zhuang consumes the core drug and starts training, you can ask the valley head to come and take a look. But, before that, third senior sister, come with me to the Summer Valley. Just now, Zhou Donghuang had seen that He Mengxi was frowning, and it was obvious that she was not in a good mood. After asking, he found out that the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Can, was causing trouble. Why are you going to the Summer Valley? He Mengxi was stunned. Of course, to meet that Lian Can. Zhou Donghuang rose into the air, the inner yuan around him withdrawn. He Mengxi was stunned. Little brother, you've broken through? Obviously, He Mengxi could tell that Zhou Donghuang had already reached the Dharma stage. I just broke through a few days ago. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. I've been consolidating my training these few days. Otherwise, I would have come out of seclusion long ago. Chapter 239. How did he break through so quickly? He Mengxi was stunned. A 24-year-old Dharma adept? What kind of miraculous encounter had this little brother of hers had? That's not considered fast. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. His progress was much slower than the disciples of the supreme sects and the top families in the top galaxies. There were many who had entered the Dharma stage before the age of 20, and there were many who had entered the Dharma stage before the age of 20. Furthermore, this is all because of the core drug that I mentioned just now. Zhou Donghuang continued, that elixir is a type of ancient elixir, its potency is unimaginable. Third senior sister, how long has De Zhuang attained the ultimate primal core stage? Zhou Donghuang asked. De Zhuang was not much older than him. Almost 2 years. He Mengxi paused for a moment before replying. Zhou Donghuang nodded. When I return from the Summer Valley, I will give De Zhuang an ancient core drug. As long as he has enough spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation, he will definitely attain the Dharma stage within a month. Zhou Donghuang's tone was full of confidence, a confidence that no one could doubt. Zhou Donghuang had already tested the potency of the ancient core drug, so he was naturally full of confidence. Zhou Donghuang's confidence shocked He Mengxi. What kind of core drug is that? How can it allow De Zhuang to attain the Dharma stage within a month? Core drug. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. It is a core drug that allows Golden Essence adepts to attain Dharma in a short period of time. However, it is only useful for Golden Essence adepts. As long as there are enough spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation to assist in training, even a Golden Essence adept who has just entered the ultimate primal core stage will be able to enter the Dharma stage in an extremely short period of time after consuming the developing essence elixir. At this point, Zhou Donghuang paused and looked at He Mengxi before continuing, speaking of which, I used the ancient core drug formula that I obtained from the dream to produce this core drug. The dream. Hearing Zhou Donghuang mention the dream again, He Mengxi gasped inwardly. Now, she was even more convinced of everything this little junior brother had said. It was precisely because of this that she couldn't help but feel slightly fortunate. Because the early appearance of this little junior brother would allow her to have the opportunity to change her and her father's fate. Otherwise, her father would die, and she would have to leave the Tai Lao planet and the Hengliu galaxy. At that moment, He Mengxi's gaze towards Zhou Donghuang became extremely gentle. Little brother, I know that you have just entered the Dharma stage and are full of confidence. Back then, when I had just entered the Dharma stage, I was the same. However, that Lian Can of the Summer Valley had already entered the Dharma stage a few years ago. Now, he is not far from the mid-Dharma stage. His Dharma power has been tempered for a few years, so it's far stronger than yours. From her words, it was clear that He Mengxi did not think that Zhou Donghuang was a match for Lian Can. Although we can definitely defeat him if we join forces, there will definitely be people from the Summer Valley who will step forward to help him. If it was just He Mengxi and Lian Can fighting, no one in the Summer Valley would help Lien Kan. After all, the two of them had similar levels of cultivation. However, once He Mengshi and Zhou Donghuang joined forces to deal with Lien Kan, the people of the Summer Valley would definitely not stand idly by. Join forces? Zhou Donghuang was stunned at first, then he could not help but shake his head and smile. Third sister, there is no need for that. Zhou Donghuang's confident smile also influenced He Mengshi to a certain extent. Could it be that this little brother is really confident? Lien Kan was the adopted son of the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun. He was also a personal disciple, so he usually stayed at Lien Kun's residence. As the head of the Summer Valley, although Lien Kun's residence was not considered luxurious, it was still very spacious. There were also many rooms inside, enough for many people to stay in. Lien Kan, my little brother would like to spar with you. After He Mengshi brought Zhou Donghuang to the residence of the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun, she spoke loudly, her voice spreading far and wide. In an instant, many disciples of the Summer Valley were attracted over. It's He Mengshi from the Autumn Valley. This He Mengshi came looking for trouble with Pan Yilan half a month ago. It was Lien Kan who stopped her. After that, Lien Kan fought with her, and they were evenly matched. After half a month, why is she here again? And she even said that her little brother wants to spar with Lien Kan? The young man in white beside her is the little brother that she mentioned? To the majority of the people of the Summer Valley, Zhou Donghuang was an unfamiliar face. Pan Yilan had come over to join in the fun and recognized Zhou Donghuang immediately. When he recognized him, his face was full of surprise. Isn't that Zhou Donghuang from the Autumn Valley? He has broken through. In Pan Yilan's memory, this Zhou Donghuang was only a golden essence adept about a month ago. In just a month, he had broken through to the Dharma stage. Zhou Donghuang? He's the Zhou Donghuang from the Autumn Valley who indirectly sold many fake goods to the Summer Valley? He's so young. Not only is he young, but he's also a Dharma adept? Pan Yilan's words shocked many of the surrounding Summer Valley disciples. Zhou Donghuang. He actually dares to come to the Summer Valley. Very quickly, Zhong Yin and Fang Baiwei, the two Summer Valley disciples who had bought fake goods from Zhou Donghuang, also arrived and stared at Zhou Donghuang fiercely. Soon after, many elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who had been cheated by Zhou Donghuang also arrived and stared at Zhou Donghuang fiercely. From what He Mengshi said, this Zhou Donghuang is here to challenge Lien Kan. I heard from Pan Yilan that Zhou Donghuang was only a golden essence adept a month ago, which means that he has only entered the Dharma stage this month. He has not even entered the Dharma stage for a month, and he actually dares to challenge Lien Kan? He's asking to be humiliated. The crowd of Summer Valley disciples did not think that Zhou Donghuang was a match for Lien Kan. After all, Lien Kan had already entered the Dharma stage a few years ago and was not far from the early Dharma stage now. In these few years, Lien Kan had already refined his Dharma to the point where it was almost flawless, and he was also very proficient in using it. It's that girl, Mengshi. Although the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun, was not outside, he could still tell who the person was from the voice. The little brother she mentioned must be Zhou Donghuang. He actually dares to challenge you? Looks like he has some confidence. Lien Kun looked at Lien Kan and asked, "Are you confident? If you are not confident, you don't have to accept this challenge. If you are confident, it's best to accept the challenge." After all, he has indirectly sold many fake goods to the people of the Summer Valley, including some elders. If you can defeat him, you will win the favor of those elders. This is a good thing for you to take over the position of Summer Valley head in the future. Lien Kun said. From what Lien Kun had said, it was obvious that he intended to pass on his position as Summer Valley head to his godson and personal disciple, Lien Kan. According to the rules of the Lightning Sword sect, as the previous Summer Valley head, he had the right to choose and recommend someone. In fact, As long as Lien can pass the Lightning Sword sex test for him as the successor of the Summer Valley head after Lien Kun's recommendation, he would be able to successfully take over the Summer Valley. Master, from your tone, you think that I might not be a match for Zhou Donghuang? Lien Kun smiled and asked, Master, don't you know that he was only a Golden Essence adept a month ago? I've heard about this. Lien Kun nodded. But, because of this, things are a little strange. A person who has just entered the Dharma stage dares to challenge you. What gives him the right? Could it be that he came here to humiliate himself? A person who was able to create so many fake goods and even deceive the elders of the Summer Valley, would he be someone who would seek his own humiliation? Lien Kun's eyes flashed with caution. Master, you are too cautious. Lien Kun shook his head and said with a look of disdain, if I, Lien Kun, cannot even deal with a young boy who has just entered the Dharma stage, how can I take over the position of Summer Valley head in the future? Master, I will go and meet him. Lien Kun bade farewell to Lien Kun and walked out. Don't be careless. Be prepared to use your ultimate Dharma spirit weapon at any time. When Lien Kun was about to leave, Lien Kun, who was behind him, reminded him in a timely manner. Yes. Lien Kun responded somewhat perfunctorily. In his eyes, a young boy who had just entered the Dharma stage less than a month ago was not worth using unless the other party had a Dharma spirit weapon first. Forget it, if he loses, it will be a lesson to let him know that there are always people better than you out there. Although Lien Kun had never seen Zhou Donghuang before, his understanding of Zhou Donghuang was still based on Zhou Donghuang's brilliant forgery skills. But, just this alone made him not dare to underestimate Zhou Donghuang. Today, Zhou Donghuang had taken the initiative to challenge his disciple, Lien Kun. This action showed that Zhou Donghuang had absolute confidence in this battle. Lien Kun. After Lien Kun left, Lien Kun called out loudly, his voice like a clap of thunder. In a duel between fellow disciples, don't overdo it. It's the Valley Head's voice. Looks like the Valley Head is worried that Lien Kun will go too far and cripple Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang took the initiative to challenge Lien Kun. As long as Lien Kun does not kill him, even if he cripples him, the sect will not pursue the matter. Outside, the crowd of elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who were watching felt that the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun, had the intention to protect Zhou Donghuang. Yes, Master. Although Lien Kun was somewhat unwilling, he did not dare to go against his master's words, so he responded respectfully. Lien Kun, seeing Lien Kun's unwillingness, Zhou Donghuang narrowed his eyes and said coldly, if you are unwilling to stop, then let's set this duel as long as no one dies. Everything else is up to you. How about that? As soon as he said this, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly. Just as the crowd of Summer Valley disciples felt that Zhou Donghuang did not know what was good for him and Lien Kun was about to agree, a dark expression appeared on his face. The voice of the Summer Valley head, Lien Kun, rang out once again. Zhou Donghuang, your Autumn Valley head and I are fellow disciples of the same master, there are some things that we should not do to each other. Chapter 240. The group of people from the Summer Valley, upon hearing Lien Kun's words, only thought, at this moment, Lien Kun had suggested this sparring session not only because he wanted to help Zhou Donghuang, but also because he wanted to remind Zhou Donghuang that if he did not embarrass him today, Zhou Donghuang would not harm the Summer Valley with fake goods in the future. Since Valley Master has personally spoken, I will give you face. In today's spar with your disciple, I will not go overboard. I will just defeat him. Zhou Donghuang's lips curled into a playful smile. If there was anyone who understood Lien Kun's words, it was definitely Zhou Donghuang himself. As for the other person, it was Lien Kun. Does Master have so little confidence in me? Lien Kun's expression was extremely ugly. As for the group of people from the Summer Valley, after hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, they all looked at him with disdain and sarcasm, thinking that he was boasting shamelessly. Make your move. Zhou Donghuang stepped forward and faced Lian Can. He said calmly, I still have things to do. The sooner I defeat you, the sooner I can go back. Arrogant. Lian Can's eyes flashed coldly, and his expression darkened. You, Zhou Donghuang, are just an adept who entered the Dharma stage less than a month ago, and you dare to dream of defeating me? What a joke. Today, I will let you know that there is always someone better than you. As soon as he finished speaking, the inner yuan in Lian Can's body surged out. In an instant, the Dharma power of an early Dharma adept appeared and floated above his head with a domineering aura. It was the giant palm Dharma that had pressed De Zhuang to the ground in the past. You broke through less than a month ago, so you probably did not even have time to train your Dharma, right? Today, I will let you know the difference between your Dharma and my Dharma. Lian Can looked at Zhou Donghuang and laughed coldly. Now, show me your Dharma. As you wish. Zhou Donghuang glanced at Lian Can, and the inner yuan in his body vibrated. One of the four beast-shaped Dharma powers in his elixir field suddenly emitted waves of powerful inner yuan that flowed through Zhou Donghuang's body and exited his body. Ever since he had entered the Dharma stage, the four golden essences in Zhou Donghuang's elixir field had completely merged with his Dharma power. To be precise, it was because the golden elixir had become a part of the Dharma power, causing the Dharma power to be condensed and almost materialized. In the past, Zhou Donghuang's inner yuan came from the primal core. Now, his spiritual ether came from his Dharma power. Of course, most people only had one Dharma power in their dantian. Because he had cultivated the Lord of the Four Supremes, he had four Dharma powers in his body, and they were four completely different Dharma powers. One was a dragon, one was a tiger, one was a bird, and one was a turtle. They were the Dharma powers of the four divine beasts. However, the four Dharma powers in Zhou Donghuang's body did not seem to have fully developed. The azure dragon resembled a snake, the white tiger resembled a cat, the vermilion bird resembled a bird, and the black tortoise resembled a little turtle. Roar, however, although the white tiger Dharma power in Zhou Donghuang's body was a little shabby and looked like a kitten, when it appeared, the 3-meter-tall white tiger Dharma power looked majestic. When it roared, it had the aura of the king of all beasts. Within 10 moves, I will defeat you. Seeing Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power appear, Lian Can, who had long been impatient, spoke in a low voice. His entire body seemed to transform into a bolt of lightning as he charged towards Zhou Donghuang. Along with him, his 10-foot-tall, materialized Dharma form also flew out. Whoosh! Whoosh! The giant Dharma power swept through the air, and because it was moving so quickly, the air around it emitted a sharp, piercing sound. This sound was also ear-piercing, as if it had come from the depths of hell, and it seemed to be able to pierce through one's eardrums. As Lian Can charged towards Zhou Donghuang, his gaze was cold. 10 moves was his conservative estimate. He felt that within 5 moves, at most, he would be able to defeat Zhou Donghuang. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Donghuang stood there, and the 3-meter-tall white tiger Dharma power that had risen from his body had already crouched down. Its eyes were closed from time to time, and it yawned lazily, as if it was about to fall asleep at any moment. This Zhou Donghuang, could it be that he has been scared silly? This should be his first battle after attaining the Dharma stage. It's normal for him to be scared silly. Lian Can and his giant Dharma power approached Zhou Donghuang in the blink of an eye. They were not far from Zhou Donghuang, but Zhou Donghuang still did not move an inch. Behind them, the crowd of Summer Valley disciples was in an uproar. At this moment, even He Mengshi, who was standing at the side, could not help but change her expression. Little brother. Zhou Donghuang, it seems that I have overestimated you. One move, just one move, and I will be able to defeat you. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang still did not move even after he had gathered his strength, Lian Can was ecstatic. His eyes shone with excitement, and he raised his hands suddenly. Instantly, His giant Dharma power seemed to sense something, and it followed his movement and slammed down towards Zhou Donghuang and his white tiger Dharma power. Little brother. He Mengxi's expression changed again, and she subconsciously let out a cry of surprise. Boom! Kaboom! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Lian Can's giant Dharma power was like a small mountain as it slammed down towards Zhou Donghuang and his white tiger Dharma power. It was as if it had the power of thunder, and its momentum was fierce. Just as the people of the Summer Valley felt that Zhou Donghuang was about to be defeated by Lian Can in one move, at this critical moment, Zhou Donghuang's calm eyes suddenly froze. In the next moment, the white tiger Dharma power, which had been lying lazily in the air, also stood up excitedly. Facing the approaching giant Dharma power, it actually leapt into the air and pounced towards it, not caring that the giant Dharma power was less than 10 meters away from it. It's too late. Lian Can has made the first move, and his Dharma power has the absolute advantage. The people of the Summer Valley who were watching could almost see the scene of the white tiger Dharma power being destroyed by the giant Dharma power. Boom! When the giant tiger Dharma idol clashed with the giant palm Dharma idol, which had the upper hand by striking first, a loud sound rang out. Frightening True Yuan wreaked havoc in the void, colliding with each other, causing gusts of wind to appear out of nowhere, sweeping in all directions with great momentum. In the next moment, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the white tiger Dharma power collided with the giant Dharma power and dispersed the giant Dharma power. The inner yuan that had been gathered dissipated in an instant, and it was all for naught. Boom! Pooh! After the giant Dharma power had been destroyed, the recoil from the inner yuan landed on Lian Can's body and sent him flying. At this moment, Lian Can's face alternated between green and white, and he could not help but open his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood. His aura was weak, and it was obvious that he had been seriously injured. Roar! The white tiger Dharma power stood in the air and opened its mouth to let out a loud roar. It was like the king of all beasts, declaring its absolute authority that could not be challenged. Even after Zhou Donghuang had kept the white tiger Dharma power, the scene was still in a dead silence. Little brother? He Mengxi was the first to recover, and she looked at Zhou Donghuang as if she had seen a ghost. He really just entered the Dharma stage? He Mengxi was shocked. He had just entered the Dharma stage, and he was already so strong? When he advanced further, how terrifying would he be? Even now, not to mention other places, there was no early Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect who could be a match for her little brother. No. Impossible. Impossible. In the distant sky, Lian Can, who was barely standing with Pan Yilan's support, looked at Zhou Donghuang again, his eyes full of disbelief and confusion. Even in his wildest dreams, he could not have imagined an adept who had just entered the Dharma stage less than a month ago had been able to defeat him in one blow, even though he had the advantage of attacking first. In a daze, Lian Can thought of his own master's words. Now, it seemed that his master's concerns were not wrong. His opponent had come looking for him because he had absolute confidence in his own abilities. Third sister, it seems that Lian Can will not be able to help Pan Yilan now. Didn't you want to help De Zhuang vent his anger? Before the group of Summer Valley disciples had time to fully recover, Zhou Donghuang looked at He Mengxi and called out to her. At the same time, He Mengxi's eyes lit up, and she flew towards Pan Yilan, who had a look of fear on his face. Without any suspense, Pan Yilan was beaten up by He Mengxi. His face was pale, and his breathing was weak. Throughout the entire process, he did not even have the courage to fight back, because he knew that fighting back would be useless, and he might even anger his opponent further. Third sister, let's go back. After glancing at the people of the Summer Valley, Zhou Donghuang and He Mengxi left the Summer Valley together. From beginning to end, no one from the Summer Valley stopped them. Zhou Donghuang had injured Lian Can during a sparring match. Although He Mengxi had been rude to injure Pan Yilan, considering her status as someone that even the law enforcement hall did not dare to provoke, they naturally would not be so stupid as to provoke her. Furthermore, Pan Yilin had only suffered a superficial wound and was not seriously injured. That Autumn Valley disciple, Zhou Donghuang, really just entered the Dharma stage recently? Many elders and disciples of the Summer Valley had doubts about this. Of those present, only Lian Can and Pan Yilin were certain. A month ago, Zhou Donghuang had indeed not yet entered the Dharma stage. He had only been a golden essence adept like the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang. Master. Lian Can returned to Lian Kun with a bitter expression on his face. I was too careless. I did not expect his abilities to be so strong that he could defeat me with just one blow. One blow? Although Lian Kun knew that Lian Can had fought with Zhou Donghuang outside and had lost, he did not know that Lian Can had been defeated with just one blow. His eyes narrowed involuntarily. How did he defeat you? Was it under the preemptive strike and when he had the upper hand? From Lian Kun's perspective, if the opponent had struck first and had the upper hand, defeating his careless godson in one blow was shocking, but it was not impossible. No, Lian Can said sadly. Lian Can said with a gloomy expression, I was the one who took the initiative and gained the upper hand. He just made a move in a hurry. At that time, my Dharma power was only 10 meters away from his Dharma power before he struck. Chapter 241. What? As soon as Lian Can finished speaking, Lian Kun's expression changed drastically, and he could no longer maintain his previous calm. He was able to defeat you in one blow, even when you had the upper hand. Are you sure he was just an early Dharma adept? Are you sure he was just a golden essence adept a month ago? Lian Kun stared at Lian Can as he asked in a low voice. A month ago, I saw him descending from the sky, surrounded by golden inner yuan, and today, his Dharma power is only 10 feet tall. Lian Can said. A Dharma power that was 10 feet tall was the hallmark of an early Dharma adept. How is that possible? Lian Kun's face was full of disbelief. He was also an early Dharma adept like you, and he had just reached the Dharma stage not long ago. How could he have defeated you in one blow under such circumstances? Master. Lian Can smiled bitterly. I'm not too sure why exactly, but the problem must have been with the Dharma power that he had formed. His giant tiger Dharma power attacked my giant palm Dharma power at the last moment, and it was difficult for him to use his full strength, but even so, my giant palm Dharma power was like a piece of paper in front of his giant tiger Dharma power, and it was easily defeated. At this point, a look of fear flashed across Lian Can's eyes. I've sparred with a mid-Dharma stage senior in the valley before. Even that senior's 3-foot Dharma power exerted pressure on my 10-foot Dharma power might not even be able to compare to his 10-foot giant tiger Dharma power. The Dharma power of a mid-Dharma adept was 3 feet tall, and its power was so strong that it could crush the 10-foot Dharma power of an early Dharma adept. But now, Lian Can said, even the 3-foot Dharma power of a mid-Dharma disciple of the Summer Valley might not be able to compare to the Dharma power of the Autumn Valley disciple. His Dharma power seems to have been trained to a terrifying extreme. Although the inner yuan contained within it is not stronger than my inner yuan, it is flawless and airtight. On the other hand, my Dharma idol is full of loopholes in front of his Dharma idol, and his Dharma idol can make use of all the flaws in my Dharma idol. My Dharma power originally didn't have many flaws. However, in the brief confrontation with the giant tiger Dharma power, it was at a disadvantage time and time again. There were so many flaws that it directly defeated me. I think, even the Dharma power of an ultimate Dharma adept might not be as well trained as his. At this point, Lian Can's eyes were filled with a complicated look. I wonder how he managed to train his Dharma power. It hasn't even been a month since he entered the Dharma stage, yet he managed to train his Dharma power to such an incredible level. Heaven-defying. In Lian Can's eyes, the Dharma power of the Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Donghuang was indeed heaven-defying. The true origin contained in the unassailable 10 feet Dharma idol was not as strong as that of a 10 feet Dharma idol of the same level, but it was so strong that it suppressed most 30 feet Dharma idols. It had to be known that the true essence intensity of a 30 zhang Dharma idol was more than twice as strong as a 10 zhang Dharma idol. A 10 zhang Dharma power without any flaws? Lien Kun's eyes narrowed. Even an ultimate Dharma adept would not dare to say that his Dharma is flawless. Although the Dharma of an ultimate Dharma adept has gone through a series of training, and there are very few flaws, there are still some. Usually, when an ultimate Dharma adept attacks, the most they can do is hide their flaws perfectly. Lien Kun obviously did not believe Lien Kan's words. He did not think that Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power was flawless. However, the strength of Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power and the degree of training it was no less than that of an ultimate Dharma adept was something that Lien Kun believed. Otherwise, Zhou Donghuang would not have been able to defeat his godson, Lien Kan, so easily. Lien Kan was not just an idiot, but he was also one of the best of the few disciples under Lien Kun. If nothing went wrong, he would definitely become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. That girl from junior brother He's family. Where did she find such a monster? From Lien Kun's point of view, such a monster should not have appeared in the Lightning Sword sect, or even in the Hengliu galaxy. Even the two transcendental forces of the Hengliu galaxy could not have produced such a monster. After returning to the Autumn Valley with He Mengxi, Zhou Donghuang brought her directly to find De Zhuang and gave him a developing essence. De Zhuang, after you take this developing essence, you will definitely enter the Dharma stage within a month. After saying this, Zhou Donghuang helped De Zhuang set up a energy-gathering spell. To save time, he took out 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones. 20,000 spirit stones were spread throughout every corner of De Zhuang's room. The reason why he took out 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones at once to set up the energy-gathering spell was because he did not want to set up another one for De Zhuang in the future. 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones to set up a energy-gathering spell should be enough. It should be enough for De Zhuang to enter the Dharma stage. Zhou Donghuang thought to himself. For him to enter the early Dharma stage from the ultimate primal core stage, for Golden Essence adepts had taken half a month, and he had spent a total of 50,000 mid-quality spirit stones. In his opinion, even if he considered that he was more talented than De Zhuang, 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones should be enough for De Zhuang to enter the early Dharma stage within a month. After all, De Zhuang was no longer training in the techniques of the past, but the top techniques of the universe, the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen. Little brother, where did you get so many spirit stones? While De Zhuang was training behind closed doors, He Mengxi, who was in the courtyard, looked at Zhou Donghuang in shock. That's 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones. In your hometown, the Ziyun planet, the 5 inferior quality spirit stone mines add up to only about 10,000 inferior quality spirit stones a year. 20,000 mid-quality spirit stones was equivalent to 200,000 inferior quality spirit stones. The entire spirit stone mine of the Ziyun planet would take 20 years to mine, and this was under the assumption that not a single spirit stone was used in 20 years. Because of this, He Mengxi found it hard to imagine where Zhou Donghuang had gotten so many spirit stones. Third sister, in the dream that involved a period of time in the future, there was a mention of the final resting place of some ultimate Dharma adepts. In the dream, those places were all taken by others, and I could only look on in envy. And now, through the memories of the future in the dream, I've taken the first step to take the things that those ultimate Dharma adepts left behind in their final resting places. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Zhou Donghuang knew his third sister very well, and he knew that if he did not explain clearly where the spirit stones had come from, she would definitely feel uneasy. And now, his response to He Mengxi was perfect and flawless. This works. He Mengxi was dumbfounded, and after a while, she felt that this was the only explanation. Otherwise, based on her little brother's ability, after leaving the remote galaxy where the Ziyun planet was located, it would have been impossible for him to obtain so many spirit stones in such a short period of time. Suddenly, He Mengshi seemed to have sensed something, and her eyes narrowed. In the next moment, she looked at the door to De Zhuang's room. She could vaguely see a spirit weapon that had turned into a mist and was entering De Zhuang's room through the gap in the door. At the same time, she could clearly feel the thick spirit energy from all directions sweeping towards her, with De Zhuang's room as the center. The abnormality in De Zhuang's room attracted the attention of the Autumn Valley head, He Jin. In a moment, He Jin landed beside Zhou Donghuang and He Mengshi. Looking at De Zhuang's room, his expression changed slightly. Spirit energy turning into mist. What's going on? He Jin looked at Zhou Donghuang suspiciously. In his opinion, this could not have been done by his daughter, and he knew very well what his daughter was capable of. Little brother gave De Zhuang an ancient core drug called the Developing Essence, and then used 20,000 mid-level spirit stones to set up an energy-gathering formation for him. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang was looking at her, He Mengshi spoke on his behalf. Originally, when little brother said that De Zhuang would be able to enter the Dharma stage within a month, I didn't believe him, but now, I have no choice but to believe him. Developing essence? An ancient core drug? He Jin was not surprised by the energy-gathering formation because he knew how to set it up. However, he had never heard of an ancient core drug like the Developing Essence. At the same time, he also realized, the scene outside Zhou Donghuang's room for the past 2 weeks had now shifted to De Zhuang's room. Little brother said that the Developing Essence is an ancient core drug. After a golden essence adept consumes it, he can enter the Dharma stage in a short time, He Mengshi said. He Mengshi said, for example, little brother entered the Dharma stage a few days ago. When He Jin heard He Mengshi's words, his eyes widened in shock. He Mengshi continued, he said that De Zhuang will be able to enter the Dharma stage within a month. How is that possible? He Jin could not help but exclaim. De Zhuang entered the ultimate primal core stage not too long ago, how can he enter the Dharma stage within a month? He Jin felt that it was impossible. However, 26 days later, when De Zhuang came out, he gave He Jin an unprecedented shock. De Zhuang had really entered the Dharma stage. Little brother, thank you. De Zhuang bowed to Zhou Donghuang in gratitude. His expression was extremely sincere, and his eyes were filled with determination. It was as if he had made a decision. It was also at this moment that Zhou Donghuang's position in De Zhuang's heart was no less than that of He Mengshi. De Zhuang, protect third sister well in the future, your current ability is no weaker than hers. You have enough ability to protect her. Zhou Donghuang smiled at De Zhuang. De Zhuang did not say anything, but He Mengshi, who was at the side, was unhappy. Little brother, I know that you have just entered the Dharma stage, but you already have incredible battle power and defeated Lian Can of the Summer Valley with one blow. However, I know De Zhuang's abilities very well, he has just entered the Dharma stage, so he is no match for me. Although He Jin had long heard that Zhou Donghuang had defeated the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Can, with a single blow, he was still shocked. But now, hearing his own daughter bring it up again, He Jin's gaze towards Zhou Donghuang became much more complicated. End of this chapter. Chapter 242. Third senior sister, you underestimate De Zhuang. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. What? From what you're saying? De Zhuang has just broken through and is already stronger than me? Little junior brother, De Zhuang is not you. He Mengshi clearly did not believe him. De Zhuang, spar with third senior sister. Zhou Donghuang smiled as he looked at De Zhuang. De Zhuang hurriedly shook his head. No. I can't. I can't fight with senior sister. De Zhuang, it's just a spar. Zhou Donghuang's calmness made He Mengshi a little uneasy. She looked at De Zhuang and said, since little junior brother is so confident in you, I want to see how strong you are now. If you can really defeat Senior Sister will be happy for you. He Mengshi looked at De Zhuang, her gaze full of motherly love. He Mengshi's words made De Zhuang's eyes light up. He smiled and shook his head. Senior Sister, I am definitely not your match. Whoosh! He Mengshi rose into the air and stood in the air, looking down at De Zhuang. De Zhuang, come. Go. Seeing De Zhuang look over, Zhou Donghuang smiled. Don't hold back, or third Senior Sister will not be happy. Yes. De Zhuang, if you dare to hold back when sparring with me, I will be very unhappy. He Mengshi agreed. She also wanted to see where Zhou Donghuang's confidence in De Zhuang came from. He Jin didn't say a word from beginning to end. He just quietly watched as De Zhuang rose into the air and faced his daughter He Mengshi. From what he saw, De Zhuang, who had just broken through to the Dharma stage, was definitely not a match for his daughter. However, Zhou Donghuang's confidence made him waver. Although he had not interacted with Zhou Donghuang before, this young fellow had given him too many surprises. First, he had tricked the people of the Summer Valley with a fake, and then, he had defeated Lien Kan, the proud disciple of the Summer Valley head, just a few days after breaking through to the Dharma stage. Now, he also knew that Zhou Donghuang could produce an ancient core medicine known as the Developing Essence, which had helped De Zhuang enter the Dharma stage in a short month. Defeating Lien Kan when he had just entered the Dharma stage and helping De Zhuang enter the Dharma stage were two of the most shocking things he had ever done. De Zhuang has switched to cultivating the Fiery Thunder training regimen. If I'm not mistaken, he will condense the Fiery Thunder Dharma form. Just as Zhou Donghuang's heart skipped a beat, he saw De Zhuang rise into the air to face him. He Mengshi, who had been waiting for a chance, began to gather her inner yuan. In the blink of an eye, a 3-meter-tall Dharma idol extended from her body. The Dharma idol was a 3-meter-long giant sword. After it condensed, it emitted bursts of fierce and sharp aura. The true origin sword aura on it flickered like a python hissing, accumulating power and waiting to be unleashed. De Zhuang, give it your all. Let me see how strong you are now that you've reached the Dharma stage. In the blink of an eye, He Mengshi's giant sword Dharma appeared beneath her feet. It carried her through the air, circling around De Zhuang. Yes, Senior Sister. At the same time, De Zhuang's Dharma power appeared at the same time. It was a ball of scorching flames. Within the flames, there were white bolts of lightning. From time to time, there would be a soft sound of thunder. It was especially ear-piercing compared to the sound of the burning flames. What kind of Dharma is this? He Mengshi was stunned. Based on her understanding of De Zhuang's techniques, after he entered the Dharma stage, he should be able to condense a blade Dharma. However, the Dharma idol that De Zhuang was displaying now surprised her greatly. At this moment, not only He Mengshi, but even He Jin, the Autumn Valley head, was stunned. He knew the techniques that De Zhuang practiced. Unless he switched to another technique, he would definitely be able to condense a blade Dharma. De Zhuang, could it be that he switched to another technique? He Jin subconsciously looked at the young man in white who was standing not far away. He saw that the young man's face was calm, and he did not seem surprised by De Zhuang's Dharma. It was as if he had already known that De Zhuang's Dharma would be the Fiery Thunder Dharma. De Zhuang, I'm going to attack. Although she was surprised by the Dharma idol that De Zhuang had condensed, He Mengshi did not think too much about it. She called out to De Zhuang, then activated the giant sword Dharma beneath her feet and flew towards De Zhuang, attacking him with the sword. Whoosh! The giant sword Dharma sliced through the air, and an ear-piercing sound rang out. The air currents in the air were completely split apart by the giant sword Dharma. Waves of bone-chilling wind howled out from both sides of the giant sword Dharma, sweeping towards Zhou Donghuang and He Jin, who were watching the battle from below. The wind caused their robes to flutter loudly. Faced with the giant sword Dharma, De Zhuang's eyes flashed with a look of panic. After all, this was his first time fighting against a Dharma adept. Furthermore, this was a Dharma adept who had condensed a giant sword Dharma, a Dharma adept that specialized in killing. Once he attacked, the wind howled, and the sword seemed to be able to destroy everything. De Zhuang, don't forget that you are also a Dharma adept now. Zhou Donghuang saw the panic in De Zhuang's eyes, and he reminded him. He could understand what De Zhuang was feeling now. Years ago, when he had just entered the Dharma stage, the first time he had fought against another Dharma adept, he had been like this. Just as he heard Zhou Donghuang's reminder, De Zhuang's face hardened. His body was like a python surrounded by lightning, and in an instant, it exploded. Immediately, his entire body brought with it the thunder and fire Dharma, and it met He Mengxi's lightning-fast sword that sliced through the air. Just as De Zhuang sprinted forward, his eyes stared directly at the sword that was flying towards him. He instinctively wanted to avoid it, but his intuition told him that he could easily block this sword. All the muscles in his body tensed up, and he was ready to attack. This feeling also made him feel like he was being controlled by a ghost. For some reason, he struck out with both his palms to meet the giant sword Dharma that was coming at him. At first, seeing this, He Mengxi's expression changed slightly, and she withdrew her strength. However, she realized that De Zhuang's hands were wide open, and his hands were surrounded by lightning and fire. His hands were able to clamp down on her giant sword Dharma power. Her giant sword Dharma power could not advance any further. Moreover, she tried to exert more force, but the giant sword Dharma power did not budge. It was only when she used all her strength that she realized that the giant sword Dharma was trembling slightly. Even so, De Zhuang was still able to completely bind the giant sword Dharma. No matter how hard she struggled, the giant sword Dharma could not escape from De Zhuang's hands. How is this possible? This made He Mengxi feel extremely incredulous. De Zhuang had just broken through to the Dharma stage, so how could he so easily block her sword Dharma? Furthermore, now that De Zhuang's hands were like iron pincers, her sword Dharma could not move at all. Senior sister, continue to use more strength. De Zhuang looked at He Mengxi in confusion, thinking that she was going easy on him. He smiled and said, Senior sister, you don't have to hold back. De Zhuang can take it. Use more strength? If she did not know that De Zhuang would not say such things on purpose, He Mengxi would have suspected that he was purposely teasing her. De Zhuang, I've already used all my strength. He Mengxi smiled bitterly. Huh? De Zhuang was stunned, and his jaw dropped. Senior sister, you've already used all your strength? In terms of brute force, I'm not as good as you. Now, let go, He Mengxi said gently. I'll try to attack you. Slow reactions are also your weakness. This is a good opportunity for me to test your reaction speed now that you've entered the Dharma stage. Alright. De Zhuang nodded like a woodpecker and immediately let go of He Mengxi's giant sword Dharma, allowing it to move again. Although He Mengxi could also give up on the giant sword Dharma, if she did that, the inner yuan in her dantian would be greatly depleted. The next time she formed her Dharma, her strength would be far weaker than it was now, and she would not be a match for De Zhuang. De Zhuang's reaction speed was always slow, and this was also a weakness of his. In the past, after he had entered the Lightning Sword sect and entered the Autumn Valley, he had sparred with many disciples of the same level of training as him, and he had lost every single time. He was strong, but his reaction speed could not keep up with others' attacks. In the end, he could only become a target for others. Now, He Mengxi saw that De Zhuang, who had just entered the Dharma stage, already had such strength. She wanted to test his reaction speed to see if it was still the same as before, or if it was still his weakness. Whoosh! When He Mengxi's sword flew towards De Zhuang's back, his brain could not react at all. However, the muscles on his back instantly tightened, and the thunder and fire Dharma on his body roared backwards. It was like a thunder and fire beast opening its bloody mouth to meet He Mengxi's sword. However, because the thunder and fire Dharma was defending on its own, its power was not as strong as when De Zhuang had used it to attack. Even so, it was still able to block He Mengxi's sword. It was as if her sword had stabbed into a ball of cotton, and it was difficult to move forward or out. At this time, De Zhuang slowly turned around. Seeing the giant sword in front of him, he instinctively slapped out, and the thunder and fire palm flew out, destroying nearly half of the giant sword Dharma. He Mengxi also suffered from the impact of the inner yuan, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Senior sister. Seeing that he had injured He Mengxi, De Zhuang's expression changed, and his face was full of panic. Senior sister, I didn't do it on purpose, I didn't do it on purpose. However, although He Mengxi was injured, it was only a minor injury. She ignored De Zhuang's panic, and in a flash, the inner yuan in her energy center surged out, once again restoring her giant sword Dharma to its peak state. At the same time, she stepped on the giant sword Dharma and flew around De Zhuang. Whoosh! 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 In an instant, He Mengxi had attacked De Zhuang from hundreds of different angles with her sword. De Zhuang's reflexes were slow to begin with, so how could he react? However, at this moment, De Zhuang's thunder and fire Dharma gathered together, and then condensed on the surface of his body. It was as if it had transformed into a flaming armor that was surrounded by thunder and lightning. No matter how much the sword slashed down, there was only a slight ripple on the surface. Throughout the entire process, De Zhuang was unharmed. End of this chapter. Chapter 243. What a perfect Dharma! While He Mengxi could not do anything to De Zhuang, the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, looked at the lightning flames that covered De Zhuang's body, and his eyes lit up. Even among ultimate Dharma adepts, he had never seen such a perfect Dharma power. What technique did De Zhuang switch to? He Jin knew very well that, based on De Zhuang's foundation, to form such a perfect Dharma, the technique he switched to would have to be a very advanced one. This was because the more profound a cultivation method was, the smaller the flaws and the more perfect the Dharma idol would be. This was the iron law of the boundless universe's cultivation world. Previously, he had guessed that De Zhuang had switched to another technique. Now, seeing how perfect De Zhuang's Dharma was, he confirmed his guess. De Zhuang's technique was more advanced than any of the lightning sword sect's techniques. The lightning sword sect's techniques, even the lightning sword technique, could not produce such a perfect Dharma. In fact, in the history of the lightning sword sect, there might not even have been a single practitioner of the lightning sword technique who had managed to train his Dharma power to the point where it was as perfect as De Zhuang's Dharma power when he was at the ultimate Dharma stage. Even if there were, such people were few and far between. At least, He Jin had never seen one. De Zhuang, what kind of Dharma is this? He Mengxi was shocked to see that she had attacked consecutively, intending to overwhelm De Zhuang. However, De Zhuang's Dharma form was still able to easily block her attacks. She was not surprised that a Dharma would protect its owner. What surprised her was that under normal circumstances, the power of a Dharma protecting its owner was not as strong as a Dharma adept's Dharma. However, De Zhuang's Dharma, even though he was not the one controlling it, was still able to easily block all of her attacks. This made her both depressed and aggrieved. She had attacked him so hard, but by the time he reacted, his Dharma had blocked all of my attacks. He. Senior sister, I don't know either. De Zhuang shook his head. You don't know either? He Mengxi stared at him in disbelief. That's your Dharma, how can you not know? De Zhuang seemed to have something he could not say, and as he hesitated, he looked pleadingly at Zhou Donghuang. At this moment, both He Mengxi and He Jin looked at Zhou Donghuang. I've imparted a new technique to De Zhuang. To him, third senior sister He Mengxi was not an outsider, and as her father, He Jin, was not an outsider either. As expected. He Jin's heart skipped a beat. Although he had previously felt that his guess was definitely correct, with Zhou Donghuang's confirmation, it gave him a completely different feeling. A new cultivation method? He Mengxi's eyes lit up, and she subconsciously looked at Zhou Donghuang with a look of desire in her eyes. However, she seemed to realize that she was being rude and looked away awkwardly. De Zhuang chuckled. Senior sister, junior brother said that he has a more suitable technique for you. De Zhuang's words caused He Mengxi's darkened eyes to light up again. Third senior sister, I wrote down this technique for you and the valley chief. It can be practiced all the way to the ultimate divine transformation stage, however, it's best not to let anyone else know about this technique. Otherwise, you will be in deep trouble. As Zhou Donghuang spoke, his expression turned serious. He would naturally not be stingy with his third senior sister He Mengxi and her father He Jin. However, he had to warn them. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang took out a piece of paper from his space ring and handed it to He Mengxi. This technique is called the Thousand-Star Sword Technique, and it is a very advanced swordsmanship technique. Once you completely switch to this technique, De Zhuang will not be your match in a short period of time. This is because his reaction time is his weakness. However, in the future, as De Zhuang's cultivation base increases, the technique he cultivates will subtly strengthen his weaknesses until they completely disappear. When that time comes, even if you're at the same cultivation base, you'll at most be able to fight him to a draw. Of course, if you fight him to the death, you will have a higher chance of winning. These two cultivation techniques are of the same level. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique focuses on killing, while the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen that De Zhuang cultivates is an offensive and defensive technique. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique that I am giving you now is not complete. When you reach the ultimate divine transformation stage, I will give you the rest of the technique. Zhou Donghuang said. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique? It's of the same level as De Zhuang's technique? After hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, both He Mengxi and He Jin's breathing quickened in that instant. Remember what I said, Zhou Donghuang reminded them. Whether it is the Thousand-Star Sword Technique that was given to you or the Fiery Thunder Training Regimen that was given to De Zhuang, they are both very advanced techniques. Once they are exposed, there will be no place for you in the Hengliu galaxy. Understood. He Mengxi nodded seriously. Although she had not known Zhou Donghuang for long, she had never seen him so serious before. It was not difficult for her to understand the gravity of the situation. As for He Jin, the Autumn Valley head, he had already scanned the surroundings to see if anyone was hiding nearby and eavesdropping. After confirming that there was no one, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Little brother. Just then, He Mengxi seemed to suddenly remember something and looked at Zhou Donghuang. Why don't we tell my father about this? Now, I don't think he will suspect that what you said is false. The Thousand-Star Sword Technique was definitely a technique that far surpassed any other in the Hengliu galaxy. Now, Zhou Donghuang had even passed this technique on to her father. Even if she told her father about what Zhou Donghuang had told her before, her father would definitely believe her. Zhou Donghuang nodded and said with a serious expression, but we cannot let anyone else know. Of course. He Mengxi also nodded seriously. This matter concerned her father's life and death, so she naturally could not do anything rash. What is it? At this time, He Jin looked at Zhou Donghuang and his daughter with a puzzled expression, his eyes filled with confusion. Valley Master, you should go back with third senior sister and listen to her in detail. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Zhou Donghuang trusted He Mengxi unconditionally because he knew what kind of person He Mengxi was from his previous life. Even if he didn't have that so-called dream of the future, she would definitely not betray him if he gave her the Thousand-Star Sword Technique and gave her a fortuitous encounter. After all, she was the kind of person who was obsessed with the principle of, a drop of kindness should be repaid with a spring of gratitude. As for He Mengxi's father, He Jin, although he had not interacted with him in his previous life, He Mengshi had mentioned him more than once. He Mengshi's personality was basically like her father's. Furthermore, according to He Mengshi in his previous life, not only had De Zhuang died for her, but her father, He Jin, had also given up a chance at survival for her. He had not hesitated to sacrifice his own life for his only daughter. Having lived for 1,000 years in his previous life, Zhou Donghuang was not stupid. Naturally, he would not easily put himself in danger. He Mengshi and He Jin were both trustworthy people. De Zhuang. At the same time, Zhou Donghuang looked at De Zhuang and reminded him, from today onwards, don't easily show off your abilities in front of others. If you want to show off your abilities in front of others, you have to wait until you reach the ultimate Dharma stage. Before that, keep a low profile. Huh? Why? De Zhuang was puzzled. At the same time, his eyes were filled with confusion and disappointment. He had just been thinking that he would often find people to spar with in the future and let them know that he, De Zhuang, could easily defeat those of the same level of practice as him, and that he was not the trash that they said he was. If you don't want third sister and me to die, you better do as I say. Zhou Donghuang could not be bothered to explain to De Zhuang. Although he could explain, with De Zhuang's slow brain, it would definitely take him a long time to explain. In his heart, he knew very well, today, De Zhuang had just broken through to the Dharma stage, and he had already displayed such abilities with his fire and thunder Dharma power. His third sister, He Mengshi, was still alright, but the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, must have long guessed that De Zhuang had switched to training in an extremely powerful technique. Otherwise, De Zhuang would not have been able to have such an incredible transformation. After all, He Jin was very clear about De Zhuang's past, and so were many people in the Lightning Sword sect. But Zhou Donghuang was different. Although he had just broken through to the Dharma stage and displayed abilities that could easily defeat the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Can, no one would have thought that he had trained in a powerful technique. Many people would have thought that he had been stuck at the ultimate primal core stage for a long time, and that when his Dharma power was still in its embryonic stage, he had already begun to train it. After all, no one knew about his past. 10 years of sharpening a sword. I understand now. Although De Zhuang had a strong desire to show off now, when he heard that this concerned the life and death of two people who were more important to him than his own life, he immediately suppressed his desire to show off and spoke seriously. At the same time, He Jin, who had returned to his residence, was also stunned after hearing He Mengshi's words. No wonder Zhou Donghuang had called his daughter third sister. He was wondering why his daughter had suddenly decided to go on a long trip. He did not expect that she would always give him a heads up before she went on a long trip. So, he had dreamed of things that would happen a long time in the future, and that included my death. He Jin's expression was very serious. Now, he had already seen the 1,000-star sword technique that Zhou Donghuang had passed on to him. The wonders of the sword technique far surpassed the lightning sword technique of the lightning sword sect, which he had switched to after entering the ultimate Dharma stage. If they were to compare, the difference would be like heaven and earth. After I completely switch to the 1,000-star sword technique, I will definitely become the most powerful person in the Hengliu galaxy below the divine transformation stage. He Jin's eyes shone with confidence. One had to know that the current him, not only in the Hengliu galaxy, but even on the Tai Lao planet and in the Lightning Sword sect, there were also ultimate primordial soul adepts who were stronger than him. End of this chapter. Chapter 244. In the Lightning Sword sect, the sect leader was a divine transformation adept. Below him were the guardians and elders of the Lightning Peak. There were only 3 guardians of the Lightning Peak, and they were all ultimate primordial soul adepts. Although there were many elders in the Lightning Peak, only 4 of them had entered the ultimate primordial soul stage, and they were the 4 valley heads of the 4 valleys of the inner sect. The 4 valley heads of the 4 valleys of the inner sect were also the 4 chief elders of the Lightning Peak, and their abilities were comparable to the 3 guardians of the Lightning Peak. However, among the 7 ultimate primordial soul adepts of the Lightning Sword sect, although He Jin was not the weakest, he was not the strongest either. He could only be ranked in the middle. Zhou Donghuang had already heard all of this from He Mengshi. Because of this, he could conclude that, once He Jin had completely converted to the 1000-star sword technique, his abilities would definitely be at the top of the 7 ultimate primordial soul adepts of the Lightning Sword sect. In fact, in the entire Tai Lao planet, or even the entire Hengliu galaxy, no one below the divine transformation stage would be his match. From the ultimate primordial core stage to the early Dharma stage, with the help of the elixir, it is equivalent to taking a shortcut. However, in the future training, unless I can obtain some extremely rare herbs or spirit fruits, there will be no more shortcuts. Because of this, a few days later, Zhou Donghuang went to look for He Mengshi and asked her to tell He Jin to keep an eye out for rare herbs and spirit fruits. If there was a way to obtain them, no matter the cost, he had to obtain them. Let the Valley Head help me with the spirit stones first. In the future, I will help the Valley Head earn more spirit stones. I have many elixir formulas that are ahead of the mainstream elixirs of the Hengliu galaxy. Zhou Donghuang said to He Mengshi. Little brother, I will ask my father to keep an eye out for the things that you want. He Mengshi looked at Zhou Donghuang gently. As for the spirit stones, you do not have to worry, and you do not need to help my father earn them back. Although I don't really understand the value of the technique that you gave to me and my father told me. Even if all the wealth of the Lightning Sword sect were to be added together, it would not be worth as much as that technique. As she spoke, she could not help but reveal a look of surprise on her face. She looked around carefully, and after confirming that there was no one around, she asked, Little brother, that technique, what level is it? In the boundless universe, cultivation techniques were also divided into grades and levels. The best cultivation techniques in the universe could be cultivated all the way to the deity tribulation realm, such as the 1000-star sword technique and the fiery thunder body tempering technique. The art of everlasting youth could only be cultivated to the celestial being realm. Of course, those who cultivated the technique of everlasting youth had a strong foundation, and their lifespan was longer than ordinary people of the same cultivation level. As long as one could cultivate to the ultimate celestial being realm, as long as they wanted to, it would not be difficult for them to step into the deity tribulation realm. A deity tribulation level cultivation technique. A few days ago, when he had imparted the technique to He Mengshi and He Jin, Zhou Donghuang had not mentioned it. Now that He Mengshi had asked, Zhou Donghuang had casually told her about it. And when He Mengshi heard his words, she was unsurprisingly stunned. Deity tribulation level cultivation technique? In the boundless universe, the level of the cultivation technique corresponded to the stage of cultivation. For example, the lightning sword technique of the Lightning Sword sect was a divine transformation level technique, and it was only a low-level divine transformation technique. At most, it could only be cultivated to the early divine transformation stage. If one wanted to break through, they would have to figure it out on their own, but it would be very difficult to do so. If one could obtain a mid-level divine transformation technique or above, it would be much easier for one to enter the mid-divine transformation stage after changing their training. In the Hengliu galaxy, the highest level of cultivation technique was only a mid-level divine transformation technique, and it was in the hands of the 2 transcendental forces that were superior to many other top sects, including the Lightning Sword sect. The best cultivation technique in the Hengliu galaxy was only a mid-level divine transformation technique. Now, her little junior brother was telling her that the 1000-star sword technique was a deity tribulation level technique. However, the portion of the 1000-star sword technique that I've written down for you can only be cultivated to the ultimate divine transformation stage at most. I'll teach you the rest of the technique after you've entered the ultimate divine transformation stage. I've already told third senior sister and the Valley Head about this yesterday. Indeed. Yesterday, Zhou Donghuang had said that he would teach He Mengxi and He Jin the rest of the technique after they had entered the ultimate divine transformation stage. But even so, He Jin only dared to make a bold guess that the thousand-star sword technique was a divine splitting stage technique. To He Jin, a divine splitting stage technique was already a priceless treasure. And now, Zhou Donghuang was telling He Mengxi that the thousand-star sword technique was a deity tribulation level technique. Naturally, He Mengxi was completely shocked. After a while, He Mengxi finally regained her composure, but she still felt like she was in a dream. Little junior brother, thank you. In her shock, He Mengxi did not know what else to say. She could only thank Zhou Donghuang in a trembling voice. Third senior sister, after experiencing that future dream, I've come to see you as my senior sister. That's why I've come to the Lightning Sword sect to look for you. Zhou Donghuang looked at He Mengxi seriously. You're my third senior sister, and I'm your little junior brother, there's no need for thanks between us. I understand, little junior brother. He Mengxi nodded and smiled. She looked at Zhou Donghuang, and her gaze softened. Third senior sister, if the Valley Head can obtain the ingredients and spirit fruits I mentioned, I can use them to refine many core drugs. At that time, not only me, but you and De Zhuang's level of practice will also increase by leaps and bounds. Zhou Donghuang further explained the importance of the things he wanted. Don't worry, I'll get my father to keep an eye out. He Mengxi nodded solemnly. As Zhou Donghuang agreed, he said goodbye to He Mengxi and returned to his own residence. In the following period of time, Zhou Donghuang quietly stayed in the Autumn Valley to practice and did not go out. The Lightning Sword sect disciples, who were shocked by the fact that he had just broken through to the Dharma stage and had defeated the Summer Valley disciple Lian Can, gradually forgot about him. Of course, there were some people who could not forget Zhou Donghuang, such as Lian Can himself. There were also the elders and disciples of the Summer Valley who had personally witnessed Zhou Donghuang defeat Lian Can. Time flew. Unknowingly, Zhou Donghuang had already been in the Lightning Sword sect for half a year. At this time, his level of practice had also successfully entered the mid-Dharma stage. Naturally, this was due to He Jin's great help. He Jin had helped Zhou Donghuang find the various herbs and spirit fruits that Zhou Donghuang needed at all costs. For this, he had spent a large number of spirit stones. However, he did not feel any heartache at all. Now, He Jin had already found out from his daughter, He Mengxi, that the technique known as the thousand-star sword technique was not a cloning technique, but a deity's tribulation technique. When he had first found out, he had been shocked for a long time before he recovered. In this period of time, He Jin had also successfully switched to practicing the thousand-star sword technique. Although he had not exchanged blows with other ultimate primordial soul adepts, he knew that his current abilities were completely different from what they had been in the past. In fact, he was confident that he could defeat his past self with one blow. Father, I've broken through. After He Mengxi came out of seclusion, the first thing she did was to find He Jin. Her face was full of excitement. The core medicine that little brother has refined is amazing. You've broken through? He Jin's eyes lit up as well, and he laughed heartily. Donghuang, you really are a benefactor to us. You've broken through to the mid-Dharma stage, and I, after switching to the thousand-star sword technique, have also touched the threshold of the divine transformation stage. He Jin smiled brightly. Congratulations, father. He Mengxi hurriedly congratulated He Jin. Girl. Suddenly, as if he had thought of something, He Jin's smile disappeared, and his expression turned serious. Although you've completely switched to the thousand-star sword technique and entered the mid-Dharma stage, before you enter the Dharma stage, you and De Zhuang need to keep a low profile. In the past, no one in the Lightning Sword sect knew about Donghuang's background. No matter how strong his Dharma power was, no one would think that he had trained in a powerful technique. Most people would just think that when he was at the ultimate primordial core stage, he had already trained his Dharma power without restraint. Furthermore, in the past few months, I've intentionally spread similar news. Now, everyone in the Lightning Sword sect agrees that the reason why Dong Huang's Dharma power is so strong is because when he was at the ultimate primal core stage, he had perfected the embryonic form of his Dharma power. But you and De Zhuang are different. Everyone in the Lightning Sword sect knows about your background. Before you enter the ultimate Dharma stage, you must not reveal your perfect Dharma power. As the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect and one of the 4 chief elders of the Lightning Peak, He Jin was very meticulous. Father, I know. He Mengshi nodded solemnly. Just as He Mengshi nodded, a loud and clear voice rang out from outside. Valley Master He, the sect master has ordered me to invite you to the Lightning Peak to receive a group of people from the Thunder Knife sect led by the Thunder Knife sect master. The people from the Thunder Knife sect are here? He Jin raised an eyebrow, and his lips curled into a cold smile. Some time ago, I heard that the Thunder Knife sect had accepted a rare martial talent from the Tai Lao planet. At that time, I was thinking that the Thunder Knife sect would not give up on the chance to bring this martial talent to the Lightning Sword sect to show off. And now, he's finally here. 24 years old and at the mid-Dharma stage, his martial talent is indeed incredible. But now, in our Lightning Sword sect, there is also a 24 years old mid-Dharma adept. Naturally, He Jin was referring to Zhou Donghuang. In the past few hundred years, other than Zhou Donghuang, the first adept to enter the mid-Dharma stage in the Lightning Sword sect was already 25 years old. Girl, it's rare for you to come out of seclusion. Come with me to the Lightning Peak to join in the fun. He Jin called out to He Mengshi, and then the father-daughter pair left the Autumn Valley and headed in the direction of the Lightning Peak. End of this chapter. Chapter 245. The Thunder Knife sect originated from the Lightning Sword sect. 6,000 years ago, there had been internal strife in the Lightning Sword sect. At that time, one of the guardians of the Lightning Sword sect had broken through to the divine transformation stage and left the Lightning Sword sect with a group of elders and disciples. They set up their own sect and became the founder of the Thunder Knife sect. The Thunder Knife sect's signature technique, the Thunder Knife technique, was actually the Lightning Sword sect's Thunder Sword technique, except that the weapon used was different. In the past, the Lightning Sword sect's guardians, elders, and disciples who had left the Lightning Sword sect all started to use knives instead of swords in order to differentiate themselves from the Lightning Sword sect. From then on, the Tai Lao planet had gained a strong sect, the Thunder Knife sect. Perhaps it was the Thunder Knife sect's luck that the founder and the others of the Thunder Knife sect had actually managed to uncover the mysteries of a dangerous place on the Tai Lao planet after leaving the Lightning Sword sect and discovered a superior spirit stone mine. A high-quality spirit stone mine was the foundation of the top forces in the Hengliu galaxy. After obtaining that high-quality spirit stone mine, the Thunder Knife sect developed for a few thousand years and became a powerful sect that could compete with the Lightning Sword sect in all aspects. The Thunder Knife sect was one of the top sects in the Hengliu galaxy. Because they originated from the Lightning Sword sect, the Thunder Knife sect had always wanted to get rid of the shadow of the Lightning Sword sect and liked to compare themselves with the Lightning Sword sect in everything. This time, the Thunder Knife sect had recruited a rare martial prodigy from the Tai Lao planet, and they could not wait to bring him to the Lightning Sword sect to show off. At the head of the group was the leader of the Thunder Knife sect, Luo Yuanqiu. Leader Luo, what a rare guest. The Thunder Knife sect had come to visit, and as the host, the leader of the Lightning Sword sect personally led the 4 chief elders of the Lightning Peak to welcome them. The Lightning Sword sect leader's name was Yu Yucheng. He looked like he was in his 50s, but in actual fact, he was more than 1,000 years old. He wore a plain robe and had a head of grayish-white hair that flowed down his back. His grayish-white eyebrows were straight, and he exuded an aura of authority. Huh. Leader Yu, speaking of which, we haven't seen each other in 100 years, right? The Thunder Saber sect leader, Luo Yuanqiu, looked about the same age as Yu Yucheng, be it in terms of appearance or actual age. However, compared to Yu Yucheng's jade-like figure, he seemed ordinary, like a fat merchant in the marketplace. He was covered in jewelry, had a fat head and big ears, and seemed to have a bright smile on his face at all times. Almost 200 years. Yu Yucheng nodded. Sect leader Luo. Sect leader Luo. At this moment, the 4 chief elders of the Rapid Thunder Peak behind Yu Yucheng, who were also the valley masters of the 4 valleys of the inner sect, all stepped forward and took the initiative to greet Luo Yuanqiu. Valley masters, we haven't seen each other for many years. You all look as good as ever, but I have grown old. Luo Yuanqiu grinned at He Jin, Lian Kun, and the others. Soon after, the few old men and women behind Luo Yuanqiu, as well as the young men and women behind the old men, all stepped forward and bowed to Yu Yucheng, the Lightning Sword sect leader. These are the elders of the Thunder Knife sect, and the young men and women behind them are the rising stars of the Thunder Knife sect. After Luo Yuanqiu introduced the people behind him, he smiled at Yu Yucheng and said, "Sect leader Yu, this time I came out. I originally wanted to bring these little guys out for a walk and to train. Now that I think about it, it's quite a coincidence that we ended up near the Lightning Sword sect." Hearing Luo Yuanqiu say this, He Jin's lips curled into a mocking smile. He could guess that Luo Yuanqiu was about to get to the point. "Originally, I did not intend to disturb you, but these young people said that they wanted to come to the Lightning Sword sect to see the glory of the talented disciples of the Lightning Sword sect. At that time, I told them, you guys can't compare to the talented disciples of the Lightning Sword sect, you guys are too far behind. But who knew that they would not accept it? In the end, I really could not dissuade them, so I brought them here to pay a visit to your sect, so that they would know that there is always someone better out there. Sect leader Yu, I hope we did not disturb your sect." As Luo Yuanqiu spoke, his smile became brighter as he looked at Yu Yucheng. "Of course not." Yu Yucheng's eyes flashed with an almost undetectable light, but he maintained a smile on his face. "I heard that sect leader Luo has recently accepted a very talented disciple. He is only 24 years old, but he is already a mid-Dharma adept. I wonder, if he is here this time?" Yu Yucheng asked. Luo Yuanqiu laughed. "Sect leader Yu is really well informed, you even know that I have recently accepted a new disciple. Yuzheng, come out and greet your senior uncle Yu." As Luo Yuanqiu tilted his head slightly and spoke, the youngest-looking young man dressed in black walked out slowly and bowed slightly to Yu Yucheng. "I am Han Yuzheng. Greetings, senior uncle Yu. I heard from my master that the Lightning Sword sect is filled with talented disciples, far surpassing our Thunder Knife sect. Today, Yuzheng and a few other senior brothers and sisters have made a rare trip to the Lightning Sword sect, and we would like to meet the senior brothers and sisters of your sect." Han Yuzheng was dressed in black. He was tall and well-built, and his slightly handsome face was cold and distant, giving off a feeling that he was 1,000 miles away. The moment he opened his mouth, he directly said that he wanted to exchange pointers with the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect. "I wonder if that would be convenient?" Han Yuzheng asked directly. "Of course not." At this time, as the sect leader of the Lightning Sword sect, Yu Yucheng naturally could not refuse. If he did, would it not be admitting that the Lightning Sword sect did not have any talented disciples? Moreover, although Han Yuzheng was highly talented, he was already a mid-Dharma adept at 25 years old. Regardless of age, just based on the strength of a mid-Dharma adept, the Lightning Sword sect had so many mid-Dharma adepts, and none of them were weaker than him. In that case, I would like to trouble senior uncle Yu to make the arrangements. Han Yuzheng continued. My senior brothers and sisters and I are all mid-Dharma adepts. Your sect can arrange for any disciple of the same level to exchange pointers with us. I heard from Master that your sect's largest arena is magnificent and can hold tens of thousands of people. My senior brothers and sisters and I would like to exchange pointers with your talented disciples there. Han Yuzheng immediately said that he wanted to exchange pointers with a disciple of the Lightning Sword sect at the largest arena of the sect. He also said that he wanted to challenge a disciple of the same level of practice as them, which was a mid-Dharma adept. The Lightning Sword sect had a total of 6 arenas. 5 of them were smaller, and they were located on the Lightning Peak and in the 4 valleys of the inner sect. There was another arena, which was also the largest arena of the Lightning Sword sect, but it was located in the area where the 5 outer halls were located. Unlike the other 5 arenas, which were only used by core disciples and inner sect disciples, this arena was used by all the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect, so it was especially spacious. It seems that the disciple of the Thunder Knife sect leader, Luo Yuanqiu, is not only talented, but also very strong. On the way back to the Autumn Valley, He Jin said to He Mengshi, "I can see that." He Mengshi nodded. He is very confident. He is probably confident that there are no mid-Dharma adepts in the Lightning Sword sect who are his match. After the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yucheng, had agreed to the request of the Thunder Knife sect disciple, Han Yuzheng, he had instructed the 4 valley heads, including He Jin, to bring the most outstanding mid-Dharma disciples of their respective valleys to the outer sect training grounds. Yu Yucheng himself, along with a few elders of the Lightning Peak, led the group of Thunder Knife sect disciples to the outer sect arena. As the 4 valley heads returned to their respective valleys, the news spread quickly, and everyone in the inner sect knew that the Thunder Knife sect had come to challenge them. The Thunder Knife sect leader actually brought a few mid-Dharma adepts to challenge us? Does he really think that the Lightning Sword sect is easy to bully? Looks like they've come with ill intentions. I've long heard that the leader of the Thunder Knife sect has recently taken in a 24-year-old mid-Dharma adept as a personal disciple. Now that he's here as well, I'm sure he's not weak. Otherwise, he wouldn't have threatened to challenge any of our mid-Dharma adepts. Humph. If I had known this day would come, I would not have been in a hurry to break through to the late Dharma stage last month. This time, the Thunder Knife sect only brought a few mid-Dharma adepts. If the Lightning Sword sect does not have any disciples of the same level to deal with them, we will be embarrassed. The Thunder Knife sect must have brought their strongest mid-Dharma adepts here. They really have ulterior motives. They came prepared. However, the Lightning Sword sect has no choice but to accept their challenge. After the news spread throughout the 4 valleys of the inner sect, it began to spread to the outer sect. Instantly, everyone in the outer sect, from outer sect elders to outer sect disciples, all rushed to the arena. The Summer Valley. Lian Kan, after you were defeated by Zhou Donghuang previously, you were able to enter the mid-Dharma stage under the pressure that Zhou Donghuang exerted on you. Furthermore, your Dharma power has been further refined, allowing you to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the most outstanding mid-Dharma disciples of the Summer Valley. You can say that this is a blessing in disguise. Lian Kun returned to the Summer Valley and asked a few Summer Valley elders to gather the most outstanding mid-Dharma adepts in the Summer Valley, and he also found Lian Kun. Today, the Thunder Knife sect has come with ill intentions. If you can defeat any one of the mid-Dharma disciples from the Thunder Knife sect, I can use this opportunity to ask the sect leader to allow you to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple there. The core disciples of the Lightning Peak were not all primordial soul adepts. In the Lightning Sword sect, some of the most talented adepts had the opportunity to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple. Of course, they needed the permission of the Lightning Sword sect leader. Master, I will definitely live up to your expectations. Lian Kan clenched his fists tightly, his eyes shining. If he could enter the Lightning Peak early, it would only be beneficial to him. End of this chapter. Chapter 246. Autumn Valley. After He Jin brought He Mengshi back, he went alone to look for the strongest mid-Dharma disciple in the Autumn Valley. At the same time, he asked He Mengshi to look for Zhou Donghuang. Although Zhou Donghuang had yet to display his true power after he had entered the mid-Dharma stage, he was still a formidable opponent. However, in his opinion, the technique that Zhou Donghuang practiced must also be a deity-level technique, which was why he was able to display the battle power of a mid-Dharma adept when he had just entered the early Dharma stage. Now that Zhou Donghuang had entered the mid-Dharma stage, he would definitely be stronger than before. At the very least, within the Autumn Valley and the Lightning Sword sect, it would be difficult to find a mid-Dharma adept who was a match for him. He Jin did not know. The Lord of the Four Supremes that Zhou Donghuang was currently practicing could only be considered a primordial soul technique, which meant that he could only train up to the ultimate primordial soul stage. Zhou Donghuang would have to figure out the rest of the way on his own. However, even though the Lord of the Four Supremes could only be considered a primordial soul technique, it was still superior to the 3 deity-level techniques that Zhou Donghuang possessed. Be it the Thousand-Star Sword technique, the Fiery Thunder Refinement Regimen, or the Manual of Unruffled Supreme, none of them were as good as the Lord of the Four Supremes before the Soul Formation stage. Now, with the help of the Lord of the Four Supremes, Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power was so perfect that there was no room for improvement. There was no need to train at all. Even the Dharma idol condensed by the 3 deities' tribulation-level cultivation methods in his possession was close to perfection. It still needed some simple tempering to reach true perfection. Little junior brother. When Mengshi found Zhou Donghuang, he was in the middle of refining elixirs in his room. Jin had recently helped him gather some rare herbs, but he had not had time to refine them into the elixirs he needed. However, seeing that Zhou Donghuang did not respond within a short period of time, Mengshi was not anxious and waited quietly outside. After 15 minutes, Zhou Donghuang finally pushed open the door and walked out. Third senior sister, are you looking for me? Little junior brother, my father asked me to look for you. He wants you to come with us to the outer sect martial arts arena. Mengshi said. Valley Master is looking for me? Outer sect martial arts practice field? What's the matter? Zhou Donghuang was confused. Following Mengshi's explanation, Zhou Donghuang finally understood what had happened. Little junior brother, if you can help the sect this time, the sect leader will definitely make an exception to let you enter the Lightning Peak in advance and become a core disciple. Mengshi said. Zhou Donghuang had long heard that core disciples were treated very well in the Lightning Sword sect. But now, he had the unconditional support of the Autumn Valley's valley head, Jin. He did not care about the treatment of a core disciple at all. He was not too interested in becoming a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. However, since Jin asked him to go with him, and he had nothing to do now, it was not a big deal for him to join in the fun. During this period of time, he had either been practicing or refining elixirs. It had been a long time since he had left the Autumn Valley, so it was not a bad idea to go out and relax. Third senior sister, did you tell the valley head about me entering the mid-Dharma stage? It was not difficult for Zhou Donghuang to guess this, because only Mengshi knew that he had entered the mid-Dharma stage. Of course, out of the 4 Dharma powers in Zhou Donghuang's body, only the White Tiger Dharma power had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. The other 3 Dharma powers were still at the early Dharma stage. According to the strict requirements of the Way of the Four Supremes, Zhou Donghuang could only be considered a mid-Dharma adept when all 4 Dharma powers had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. The reason why he had chosen to let the White Tiger Dharma power break through first was because it had the ability to deceive others, so he would not be too conspicuous. Otherwise, once the Green Dragon Dharma power and the Vermilion Bird Dharma power appeared, anyone would be able to tell that the technique he was practicing was not simple. The Black Tortoise Dharma power could also deceive others, but it was more focused on defense, so it was not as helpful to him as the White Tiger Dharma power. Mengshi nodded. Little junior brother, it was not convenient for me to fight, otherwise, would not have needed you to hold the line this time. I could have defeated Han Yuzheng of the Thunder Knife sect. Although Mengshi had not sparred with anyone since she had entered the mid-Dharma stage, she could still feel how powerful she was. Once her near-perfect sword-shaped Dharma power appeared, even the most outstanding mid-Dharma adepts in the Autumn Valley would not be able to withstand more than 3 blows from her. After completely switching to the Thousand-Star Sword technique, Himengxi's sword-shaped Dharma power was still the same, but it was no longer the sword-shaped Dharma power of the past. It was infinitely close to perfection. As long as she had enough time, she would be able to train her sword-shaped Dharma power to the point of perfection. Third senior sister, it is indeed not convenient for you to fight. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Whether it was Himengxi or De Zhuang, the people of the Lightning Sword sect knew them very well. If they were to suddenly display their near-perfect Dharma power, some people would definitely suspect that they had obtained an extraordinary technique. At that time, even He Jin might not be able to protect them. Whether it was the Thousand-Star Sword technique or the Fiery Thunder training regimen, as long as they did not cooperate and hand them over, the entire Lightning Sword sect would turn against them. You and De Zhuang, before you reach the ultimate Dharma stage, try not to fight in front of others. Even if you do fight, try to preserve your strength. Zhou Donghuang said. My father said the same thing. Himengxi felt a little helpless, but she also knew that whether it was her father or this little brother in front of her, they were both doing this for her own good. After a while, Zhou Donghuang and Himengxi met up with He Jin. At this time, behind He Jin, there were already 3 young men. They were the best of the mid-Dharma adepts of the Autumn Valley. The young man, who was dressed in a blue robe, was of medium build and had average looks. After frowning at Zhou Donghuang, his gaze landed on Himengxi, and in that instant, his gaze became gentle. Junior sister Mengxi, you should be reaching the mid-Dharma stage soon, right? Yes. Himengxi was a little perfunctory with the young man in blue, and she nodded lightly. She did not tell him that she had already reached the mid-Dharma stage. Junior sister Mengxi, I heard from the valley head that the few mid-Dharma adepts of the Thunder Knife sect have come with ill intentions. Today, I, Wang Cheng, will let them know what it feels like to go for wool and come home shorn. The young man in blue continued. Wang Cheng, there's no point in talking big now. Wait until you really defeat them first. Seeing that Wang Cheng was not done yet, Himengxi said impatiently. Junior sister Mengxi, if I defeat them, how about you give me a chance to pursue you? Wang Cheng ignored Himengxi's impatience, as if he was already used to it. He continued to smile at Himengxi. Sure. Himengxi replied calmly. But, if you can't defeat them, from today onwards, if you see me, make a detour. Wang Cheng was stunned at first, and then his face lit up with joy. Sure. Unlike Wang Cheng, who was drooling over Himengxi after seeing her, the other 2 young men were much calmer, and they did not say a word from start to finish. He Bin, Lu Ji, when we reach the outer sect arena later, please give me some face. Don't make a move before me, those idiots from the Thunder Knife sect are mine. Wang Cheng said to the other 2 young men. Wang Cheng, since the leader of the Thunder Knife sect dares to bring them to challenge any of the mid-Dharma adepts of the Lightning Sword sect, it means that they are not weak. Don't underestimate them. One of the young men looked at Wang Cheng and said worriedly. Huh. Lu Ji, you're too cautious. They are not weak, but do you think we are? You think too highly of us. Wang Cheng said nonchalantly. Shut up. Wang Cheng's incessant chatter finally made Zhou Donghuang a little impatient, and he even let out a low growl, interrupting Wang Cheng. Instantly, Wang Cheng's expression changed, and he glared at Zhou Donghuang. Just as he was about to scold him, He Jin said, Wang Cheng, be quiet. Hearing He Jin, the Autumn Valley head, speak up, Wang Cheng naturally did not dare to speak again. However, his gaze towards Zhou Donghuang was full of hatred and resentment. He was already jealous of Himengxi and Zhou Donghuang's closeness, and now that Zhou Donghuang was the target of his anger, he was instantly enraged. Zhou Donghuang, you'd better not let me find a chance, otherwise, I will definitely kill you. Wang Cheng swore in his heart, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes. In this instant home, Zhou Donghuang felt as if he was being stared at by a poisonous snake. He subconsciously turned his head to look, and when he met Wang Cheng's gaze, he could not help but laugh coldly. "What? You want to kill me?" "Humph." Wang Cheng snorted coldly. His voice was so cold that it made one's hair stand on end. It was as if he had silently agreed to Zhou Donghuang's question. "Hm?" Just then, He Jin turned around and saw the murderous glint in Wang Cheng's eyes as he looked at Zhou Donghuang, and his expression darkened. Immediately after, He Jin raised his hand casually, and an invisible force rose up. Then, in the void, it turned into tens of thousands of clearly visible sword lights, like stars in the starry sky. Swoosh! 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 As the dense sword gleams swept past, it was like a rain of swords enveloped Wang Cheng from all directions. Wang Cheng's expression changed, and he did not even have time to react before the sword gleams engulfed him. The sword gleams dissipated in the blink of an eye, and the blood mist in the air dissipated, leaving behind only a space ring that floated down. In the blink of an eye, a living person had been completely destroyed. He had died without a proper burial. Wang Cheng, a disciple of the Autumn Valley, attempted to kill a fellow disciple. As the Autumn Valley head, I will carry out the punishment on behalf of the law enforcement hall and clean up the sect. After Wang Cheng's death, He Jin spoke coldly. Apart from Zhou Donghuang and He Mengshi, only Lu Ji and Hebin were present, and He Jin's words were obviously directed at them. When Lu Ji and Hebin heard He Jin's words, they finally recovered from the shock of Wang Cheng's death. They felt their bodies tremble, and a chill rose from the soles of their feet to their heads, causing their scalps to go numb. End of this chapter. Chapter 247. Just because of one sentence from Zhou Donghuang, a new disciple who had just joined the Autumn Valley for half a year, and Wang Cheng had responded coldly, the Autumn Valley head had killed him? Moreover, he had said that he would execute him on behalf of the law enforcement hall. As the Autumn Valley head, He Jin had this authority, but he had never exercised it. In front of others, He Jin had always been kind and amiable. Even though Wang Cheng's words had offended his daughter He Mengshi, He Jin didn't say anything. But now, He Jin had killed Wang Cheng for Zhou Donghuang. Whether it was Liuji or Hebin, when they looked at Zhou Donghuang again, their eyes were filled with fear. Although they did not know why the valley head would do this for Zhou Donghuang, they knew that Zhou Donghuang was not someone they could afford to offend. "Donghuang, are you satisfied with how I've handled this matter?" He Jin asked Zhou Donghuang with a smile. If they had not seen him kill Wang Cheng with their own eyes, Liuji and Hebin would have thought that he had been replaced. "Thank you, Valley Head." Zhou Donghuang nodded with a smile. "In that case, let's continue to the outer sect arena." He Jin once again brought Zhou Donghuang, He Mengshi, and the other two disciples to the outer sect arena. The entire journey was silent, and neither Liuji nor Hebin dared to breathe too loudly. "The Autumn Valley head is here." Zhou Donghuang and the others had just arrived at the outer sect arena when many outer sect disciples recognized He Jin, and they all exclaimed in surprise. Now that the four valley heads have brought their people, it looks like the sparring between the mid-Dharma adepts of the Lightning Sword sect and the Thunder Knife sect is about to begin. Humph! The people of the Thunder Knife sect are too arrogant. How dare they challenge the Lightning Sword sect? In our Lightning Sword sect, even mid-Dharma adepts are as talented as the clouds. The Thunder Knife sect has come with ill intentions, we cannot underestimate them. Now, among the group of Lightning Sword sect elders and disciples who had appeared at the outer sect arena to watch the show, some were confident in their own mid-Dharma adepts, while others were wary of the Thunder Knife sect's ill intentions. "Zhou Donghuang, what a rare occasion. I didn't expect you to be here too. I've looked for you many times, but you were always in seclusion." Just as the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, had brought Zhou Donghuang and his group to meet up with the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yucheng, who was leading the group. A seemingly frivolous young man walked up to Zhou Donghuang with a smile on his face. This young man was none other than the only son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Lang. He was a famous spoiled brat of the Lightning Sword sect. Lu Lang stood in the air, his body surrounded by a faint golden glow. It was obvious that he was still at the ultimate primal core stage and had yet to enter the Dharma stage. "You're looking for me. What's the matter?" Zhou Donghuang glanced at Lu Lang. He was not familiar with Lu Lang. Previously, Lu Lang had pestered him to help him resell the fake goods. Zhou Donghuang had been happy to be free, so he had transferred the fake goods to Lu Lang for him to sell. That time, Lu Lang had successfully sold all the fake goods to the elders of the Summer Valley. His efficiency was so high that it made people gasp in admiration. Of course, Zhou Donghuang did not feel that he owed Lu Lang a favor because of this, because Lu Lang did it because he thought it was fun. They were just taking what they needed from each other. "Can't I look for you if I have nothing to do?" Lu Lang looked at Zhou Donghuang with some resentment in his eyes. He grinned and said, "At least we can be considered friends now, right?" Even Lu Lang did not know why a group of people of the same age as him surrounded him and tried to curry favor with him, but he did not like to bother with them. However, Zhou Donghuang, who was even colder than him, left a good impression on him. He felt that Zhou Donghuang's knowledge of the fake goods was amusing, and he also felt that Zhou Donghuang had just entered the Dharma stage and was able to defeat the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Can. He was very powerful and admired him. "Friend?" Zhou Donghuang shook his head. "Young Master Lu, I, Zhou Donghuang, am not worthy of being your friend. If you have nothing to do, go back to where you came from." Zhou Donghuang had heard many of Lu Lang's spoiled brat deeds. He looked down on this person from the bottom of his heart and did not want to have too much to do with him. "Zhou Donghuang, you are indeed crazier and more arrogant than me." Lu Lang's eyes flashed, and he said with a determined expression, "However, I believe that you will acknowledge me as a friend sooner or later." As he said this, Lu Lang looked deeply at Zhou Donghuang and then turned to leave. However, Zhou Donghuang pretended not to hear Lu Lang's words. "Little junior brother, that Lu Lang is usually very arrogant and never looks at anyone. I did not expect that he would actually come up to you and want to be your friend, and you even rejected him." He Mengshi smiled. "Without his father, he is nothing," Zhou Donghuang said lightly. "Actually, you can't say that. If you are not included, he is the fastest person in the Lightning Sword sect to enter the ultimate primal core stage in the past 100 years. He Mengshi shook her head and said, "He is younger than you by a year, but he has already entered the ultimate primal core stage and has been a golden essence adept for 2 years. Although he is a spoiled brat, his martial arts talent is not bad at all." Seeing that Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed and he did not reply, He Mengshi did not continue on this topic and changed the topic. "That is the leader of the Lightning Sword sect, Yu Yucheng." He Mengshi looked at the leader of the Lightning Sword sect and introduced him to Zhou Donghuang. The person in front of Lu Lang is his father, the Spring Valley head, Lu Fengao. After introducing Yu Yucheng, He Mengshi introduced Zhou Donghuang to the other 3 valley heads of the 4 inner valleys. The other 3 valley heads had already arrived at the outer sect arena. "That is the Summer Valley head, Lian Kun. When you went to the Summer Valley that day, although you heard his voice, you did not see him, eh? That Lian Can is here too. That is the Winter Valley head, Leng Qianxiu." The Spring Valley head, Lu Fengao, stood in front of Lu Lang. He was of medium build and had a scholarly appearance. He wore a gray robe and looked like a middle-aged scholar. The Summer Valley head, Lian Kun, was extremely short, but his eyes were bright and full of energy. One look and anyone could tell that he was not someone to be trifled with. The Winter Valley head, Leng Qianxiu, was tall and handsome, and his face was like jade. Like Zhou Donghuang, he wore a plain white robe and stood there, exuding a cold aura. The few of them were all middle-aged men. That is the Thunder Knife sect leader, Luo Yuanxiu. After introducing the other 3 valley heads of the 4 inner valleys, He Mengshi continued to introduce the leader of the group to Zhou Donghuang. The Thunder Knife sect leader, Luo Yuanxiu, was accompanied by a few elders of the Thunder Knife sect, as well as a few young men and women. Sect leader Yu, most of the people should have arrived, right? Luo Yuanxiu smiled brightly at the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yucheng. Can we begin now? Of course. Yu Yucheng nodded. Those who come are guests. Sect leader Luo, please allow the genius disciples of the Thunder Knife sect to enter first. Good. Sect leader Yu is indeed straightforward. Luo Yuanxiu laughed and tilted his head slightly, calling out, Xia Yun. As Luo Yuanxiu's voice fell, one of the young men and women, a tall young man dressed in a gray robe, stepped forward. After a moment, his figure flashed and he landed in the center of the vast martial arts practice field. Thunder Knife sect inner disciple, Xia Yun, mid-Dharma adept, would like to challenge any disciple of the Lightning Sword sect of the same level of practice, regardless of age. Please enlighten me. Xia Yun stood in the arena, his voice imbued with inner yuan, spreading far and wide. Almost as soon as Xia Yun finished speaking, a large man with a curly beard flew into the arena and stood opposite him. I am Zhang Kun, an outer disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, a mid-Dharma adept. I am here to experience the skills of the genius disciples of the Thunder Knife sect. Zhang Kun, finish him. Zhang Kun, you can do it. The group of outer disciples all cheered loudly for Zhang Kun, each of them as if they were on steroids. They were extremely excited, as if the one to enter the arena was not Zhang Kun, but them. This Zhang Kun is almost invincible in the outer sect at the same level of practice, but in the inner sect, there are many who can beat him, He Mengshi said. Zhou Donghuang heard He Mengshi's words. Even Wang Cheng, who died at my father's hands, could at most fight Zhang Kun to a draw. Lu Ji and Hebin, on the other hand, are slightly stronger than them. Almost as soon as He Mengshi finished speaking, the outer sect disciple, Zhang Kun, had already made the first move. A giant Dharma power of 30 feet tall appeared, like a small mountain falling from the sky, shrouding the inner sect disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Xia Yun. Facing the approaching giant fist of Dharma, Xia Yun's eyes narrowed, but he did not dodge like most people had guessed. Buzz! A giant blade of Dharma appeared on Xia Yun's body, and it immediately flew into the sky to meet the giant fist of Dharma. After a moment of stalemate, the latter was split in half by the blade, and the thick inner yuan that had condensed into the giant fist of Dharma dissipated. Ugh! With his Dharma broken, Zhang Kun, who had suffered the backlash of his inner yuan, opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood, his aura also weakening. Although he could still attack again, in his current state, there was no chance of him winning. The genius disciple of the Lightning Sword sect only has this much power? Xia Yun said mockingly. Zhang Kun was so angry that his face turned red, and the giant fist of Dharma once again condensed on his body, but it was much dimmer than before. You are no match for him, stand down. At this time, a voice came from the sky, and then a figure descended from the sky, standing in front of Zhang Kun. It was a young man. Lian Can? He Mengshi looked at the young man in shock, and her eyes showed some surprise. His level of practice has also broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. However, although his Dharma power has been trained well, he has still just broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. Normally, his power should at most be comparable to Zhang Kun's. Since he has come down, it must be that his Dharma power has improved further. He Mengshi guessed. End of this chapter. Chapter 248. Lian Can? It's the direct disciple of the Summer Valley head, Lian Can. Isn't this Lian Can an early Dharma adept? Has he broken through? Lian Can's appearance immediately attracted the attention of many people. Lian Can was no stranger to the outer and inner sect of the Lightning Sword sect. Although there had been rumors a few months ago that Lian Can had been defeated by a young man from the Autumn Valley who had just entered the Dharma stage, this did not affect their understanding of Lian Can's strength. If Lian Can had entered the mid-Dharma stage, his strength would definitely not be weaker than Zhang Kuan's. Moreover, now that he had personally witnessed Zhang Kuan being defeated by a single blade, it meant that he was extremely confident in his own strength. Brother Lian, your godson Lian Can must have just broken through to the mid-Dharma stage, right? Can he win? The Spring Valley head, Lu Fengao, glanced at the Summer Valley head and asked. Brother Lu, just watch. Lian Kun smiled lightly. Looks like Brother Lian has a lot of confidence in your godson Lian Can. Lu Fengao looked deeply at Lian Kun, and then his gaze returned to the arena. At this time, Lian Can had already begun fighting with the inner disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Xiaofan. Boom! Boom! When Lian Can's giant palm Dharma descended, it was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on them. It was imposing and powerful, as if it could crush everything in its path. Buzz! 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 Xia Yun's giant sword Dharma was like a ghost, and it was extremely strange. It weaved into a web of blades, and for a moment, it was hard to tell who was superior. Lian Can's strength has increased so much. The scene before her shocked He Mengshi. She was certain that if she had not switched to the thousand-star sword technique, even if she had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage, she would not have been a match for Lian Can. Lian Can's Dharma had not only broken through to the mid-Dharma stage, but it had also been tempered to a lot of its flaws. Lian Can's improvement is too great, isn't it? He Mengshi was in disbelief. At this time, even Zhou Donghuang could not help but look surprised. He had not expected Lian Can to improve so much in such a short period of time. Not only had his cultivation improved, but his Dharma power had also improved greatly. Lian Kun, your godson is not bad. He has just broken through to the mid-Dharma stage and already has such strength. His future is limitless. The Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yucheng, glanced at Lian Kun and was not stingy with his compliments. At the same time, he promised, if he wins this battle, I will allow him to enter the Lightning Peak early and become a core disciple. Thank you, Sovereign. Lian Kun's eyes lit up as he hurriedly expressed his thanks. He hadn't expected that this sect master would take the initiative to bring up this matter without him having to mention it. At the same time, Lian Kun's gaze landed onto Lian Can's figure with a hint of hope. Lian Can, do your best. While Lian Kun was looking at Lian Can, the Thunder Knife sect disciple, Han Yuzheng, spoke up impatiently. Xia Yun, stop fooling around. Huh. Alright, junior brother Yuzheng. Hearing Han Yuzheng's words, Xia Yun laughed. Then, the light from the giant knife Dharma intensified, overpowering Lian Can's palm Dharma in one fell swoop. Then, like a ghost, before Lian Can could react, he was already behind Lian Can. With a single push of his palm, Lian Can was sent flying. Wah! Lian Can spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Lian Can had been defeated. Your abilities are not bad, but it's a pity that you're still lacking compared to me. Xia Yun looked at Lian Can, who had fallen to the ground pathetically and was staring at him with a look of dissatisfaction. He shook his head and smiled. If you could improve your Dharma power further, perhaps you would be able to fight me to a draw. Right now, you're too weak. Xia Yun's words made Lian Can's expression darken. Not only had he been defeated, but he had also missed an opportunity to enter the Lightning Peak early. Lian Can has been defeated? Lian Can's defeat instantly caused the surrounding elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect to fall silent. Lian Can's abilities were obvious to all. Among all the mid-Dharma adepts in the Lightning Sword sect, he was considered one of the best. But now, he had been defeated by an inner disciple of the Thunder Knife sect. Although they knew that the Thunder Knife sect had definitely come prepared this time, seeing Lien Kan, who was so strong, lose at the hands of his opponents still made the Lightning Sword sect very upset. I didn't expect him to have hidden his abilities. He Mengshi looked at Xia Yun in surprise. Of course, although Xia Yun had hidden his abilities, with her current abilities, she was still confident that she could easily defeat him. The Thousand-Star Sword technique was a deity-level technique. As one of the best techniques in the universe, the strength of her Dharma power was unimaginable. Lu Ji, you go. He Jin turned to look at the Autumn Valley disciple, Lu Ji, who was standing behind him. Yes, Valley leader. Lu Ji replied and landed on the ground. In the blink of an eye, he was already in the arena. If you don't count us in. Lu Ji's abilities are the strongest of the mid-Dharma adepts in the Autumn Valley, He Mengshi said. Lu Ji left the arena and looked at Xia Yun. You rest for a while, and then we'll continue. Lu Ji left the stage and looked at Xia Yun. Take a break. We'll continue. There's no need for that. Xia Yun shook his head, obviously not taking Lu Ji seriously. This angered Lu Ji, and he attacked in anger. He displayed abilities that were even stronger than Lien Kan's, and in the end, he defeated the careless Xia Yun. Most of the people present could see that if Xia Yun had rested for a while, even if he could not defeat Lu Ji, he would at least be able to fight to a draw. At the last critical moment, although Xia Yun had taken out an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon in a moment of desperation, Lu Ji also had an ultimate Dharma spirit weapon and still defeated him. Xia Yun, you were careless, and now you've lost, haven't you? There were a total of 4 youths from the Thunder Knife sect present today, 3 young men and 1 young woman. Now, the beautiful and valiant-looking woman could not help but make fun of Xia Yun after he returned. I didn't expect this kid to be so much stronger than Lien Kan. I've failed miserably. Xia Yun was a little angry. If not for the fact that he had used up a lot of inner yuan in his fight with Lien Kan, he would have been able to fight to a draw. Lu Ji, you're amazing. Lu Ji is indeed a genius among the Autumn Valley disciples. He lives up to his name. After Lu Ji defeated Xia Yun, the group of Lightning Sword sect disciples who had been silent because of Lien Kan's defeat all cheered loudly. Thunder Knife sect inner disciple, Wang Ping. Among the 3 from the Thunder Knife sect, another young man stepped onto the stage and used a similar giant knife Dharma power. He fought with Lu Ji, who had used a giant sword Dharma power. Both of them did not use their Dharma spirit weapons because they both had the same Dharma spirit weapons, so they could not gain any advantage. Just like before, when Xia Yun used his Dharma spirit weapon when he was defeated, it was useless and could not change the outcome. After a few dozen moves, Lu Ji was defeated. Wang Ping's ability was slightly stronger than Xia Yun's. Could it be that Xia Yun is the weakest of the 4 mid-Dharma adepts from the Thunder Knife sect this time? Many of the Lightning Sword sect disciples stared with wide eyes, their faces filled with shock as they guessed. And it turned out that they had guessed correctly. Wang Ping was calmer than Xia Yun. After resting for a while, he faced the next Lightning Sword sect disciple, a Winter Valley inner disciple who was slightly stronger than Lu Ji. In the end, both of them fought to a draw. Wang Ping continued to rest and once again faced the Spring Valley inner disciple. This Spring Valley inner disciple was the personal disciple of the Spring Valley head, and his name was Hu Jian. Within 10 moves, he defeated Wang Ping. Hu Jian was also one of the Lightning Sword sect's core disciples. He had not even entered the primordial soul stage, but he had already been given special permission to enter the Lightning Peak and become a core disciple. The core disciples of the Lightning Sword sect are indeed powerful. Wang Ping sighed in admiration and retreated. At that moment, there were only 2 people left on the Thunder Knife sect side. But even so, the hearts of the Lightning Sword sect disciples who were present were still very heavy, on their side, even their core disciples had been sent out. If the remaining man and woman from the Thunder Knife sect were stronger than the previous two, the Lightning Sword sect would be in danger. Who knew if the next person would be able to defeat Hu Jian? Hu Jian was widely recognized as the #1 mid-Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect. In fact, before he had even entered the mid-Dharma stage, he had been recognized as the #1 early Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect. When he was still a Golden Essence adept, he had already begun to train his Dharma power, which allowed him to possess extremely strong battle power when he had just entered the Dharma stage. It was precisely because of this that he had been accepted into the Lightning Peak even though he was only at the Dharma stage, and he had become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Sect leader you, this core disciple of your Lightning Sword sect is really powerful. Among the mid-Dharma adepts of your Lightning Sword sect, there is probably no one who can compare to him, right? Although two of the Thunder Knife sect's disciples had been defeated, the Thunder Knife sect leader, Luo Yuanqiu, still had a calm expression on his face as he looked at the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yucheng, and asked with a smile. Sect leader Luo, it seems like you are very confident in the remaining two disciples of your Thunder Knife sect. Yu Yucheng looked at Luo Yuanqiu and sighed inwardly. He knew that he had been too careless. He had not expected the Thunder Knife sect to have so many strong mid-Dharma adepts. Hu Jian was indeed the last trump card of the Lightning Sword sect. Senior Hu Jian, if you defeat the remaining two from the Thunder Knife sect, I'll get my Shaoli to introduce you to the beauties of her sect. Lu Lang waved his fist at Hu Jian and shouted, haven't you always been envious of me and wanted to find a soulmate? As long as you defeat the remaining two from the Thunder Knife sect, I'll help you find one. Lu Lang's words completely broke the tense atmosphere, and many elders and disciples of the Lightning Sword sect could not help but laugh. You little brat, get lost. The Spring Valley head, Lu Fengao, glared at Lu Lang, but his voice was still warm and gentle, without the slightest hint of reprimand. It was clear that he was very tolerant of Lu Lang, his only son. Little brother, look at how calm the Thunder Knife sect leader is. Senior Hu Jian is in danger, He Mengshi said with a frown. It's a pity I can't fight. Otherwise, no matter how strong the remaining two from the Thunder Knife sect are, as long as they are mid-Dharma adepts, I'll definitely defeat them. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.